On the field. Off the field. Sports talk. Entertainment and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 93 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the one, the only, the best-looking man with two cats, Mr. Leighton Pip Shaventone.
Josh Rosen probably has the worst, almost unfortunate timing of any quarterback in history of the NFL. Taken by the Cardinals after they lose Bruce Arians. Gets traded to the Dolphins after they lose Adam Gase. Good luck, Josh.
And our guest host, Mr. Jared Diesel Darty.
The draft confirmed what I've said about the NFL for quite some time. NFL GMs care about three things. They prioritize three things. Get your quarterback. Second, get guys to protect your quarterback. And third, get guys to attack the other team's quarterback. That's why the only people that get drafted high are quarterbacks, offensive linemen, and front seven players.
So you got two options if you have a kid. You either hand him a golf club or you just beef him up to be an offensive or defensive lineman. That's what you're saying to me. So, guys, be sure to follow on Spotify and iTunes. Be sure to download, subscribe, give us that 5-star review. Be following on Twitter and Instagram at TheSaucyPod. So, today, we have a lot on the docket. We have an NBA postseason update. We have to lay some teams to rest. We have NFL draft coverage. We have MLB chatter. And we also have an interview with Aaron Elliott. He was working at the Elite 11 camp this last weekend. Comes to the kennel to provide some draft analysis for us. So, first on the list, football's always first. So the NFL draft was this weekend. Guys, what was the biggest first day surprises, too high and too low?
So, I have a lot of players wrote down, but we're going to talk about all of them throughout the other conversations we're going to have, so I don't really talk about them a whole lot. But Ferrel from Clemson going from before to Oakland is obviously the one that stands out the most. Him and Daniel Jones are probably the two biggest ones, then Josh Allen falling. But my big surprise that Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive end from Mississippi State, in the first round. That video came out of him beating up that woman like 2 years ago or something like that. And the fact that he went in the first round with that being out there just stands for either he's really a stand-up guy once you actually meet him and never trouble ever again, or he is just like the best prospect of all time.
Time out. He didn't go to the Chiefs?
He did not go to the Chiefs.
Wow.
No. The Chiefs still clear of that this time. They're not going to have that happen to him again.
Surprised the hell out of me.
But what I learned, Joe Mixon, Jeffrey Simmons, the two best prospects in history of the NFL draft.
Yeah, so I have both written down that you had with Jones and Ferrel. Really, though, it surprised me how low all the cornerbacks went. Like, I feel like you saw so many mocked at the end of the first round, or like late 20 to 30, like 20 on, let's say. But one was taken in the first round? Everybody else got kicked around too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. DeAndre Baker he got drafted by the Giants, got taken in the first round.
Yeah, that surprised me. I thought they all went really low.
Yeah, that is very surprising. Any other players that you have too high, too low?
Just the two Leighton had, and then all the cornerbacks as well.
Yeah, I think everybody that the Raiders ended up picking, I feel like they reached, maybe with the exception of Jonathan Abram, taking a quarterback or taking a running back in the first round, always a little bit questionable, especially whenever there's no real dead set lock number one type running back. You know, whenever Ezekiel Elliott went first, it was obvious he would go first in the first round.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, it was obvious that he was a first round talent. Leonard Fournette, outside of injuries, it was obvious that he was a first-round talent. And then you go out and you get Josh Jacobs in the first round. That's obviously pretty questionable to me. One guy that I was surprised that fell was Montez Sweat for the Washington Redskins. Guys, this guy's huge defensive lineman, and he ran a 4.40 at the Combine, which was one of the fastest ever recorded by a defensive lineman. I don't know why this guy fell, especially in the era where we're all just enamored by numbers. But I thought Montez Sweat falling was pretty weird, and the fact that the Giants went up and got Daniel Jones, which is actually what we're going to talk about now. Daniel Jones going 6 to the Giants. Haskins falls all the way to 15. Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
I said last week that I could see this happening. I wasn't extremely confident he was going to go that early, though. Like, whenever I heard his name, I was definitely surprised.
We were making jokes about Daniel Jones
holy
going
shit,
6.
Yeah. But really, I think it's just, if you look at Haskins, I think I probably would have taken Haskins personally, but if you look at Haskins, I think Urban Meyer is just a damn good offensive coach. Everybody, like, with the exception of maybe one, he's been... Every quarterback he has is just a system quarterback. They just thrive in that system, and they don't really have a whole hell of a lot of success outside of it. And, I mean, I think some of that played into it. Like Chris Carter said it, trying to make it a race thing. It's like, I think you're fishing, man.
No, absolutely fishing with that. I mean, just think about the first-round quarterbacks that have went under Urban Meyer. None of them really had success in the NFL, with the exception of Alex Smith being the best, but it took him like 6 years to get things going. Leighton, what were your thoughts on those two quarterbacks in the first round?
I don't know, the Giants, man, with Daniel Jones at 6. Like, David Gettleman said he knows for a fact that 2 teams would have taken him full pick 17. First of all, no one's going to tell you who they're taking.
No, absolutely not.
The huge part of this is the chess game of, am I going to take him or not? So then they make you pick them. And so if teams were telling David Gettleman that, you can't believe that for David Gettleman. You can't just do that. You got to trade down, because like the Broncos, you don't think the Broncos would trade up 4 picks to take Dwayne Haskins or Daniel Jones even maybe? I mean, they passed on Dwayne Haskins the first time, but still, like, I don't know. I think they should trade it down. Haskins at 15, I like.
Yeah, no, I think Haskins...
Well, I don't think I would have traded down because they had another pick They had another first-round pick, didn't they?
Who's that?
The Giants at 17, yeah. But
yeah, the Giants ended up having 17.
I would have taken... If I had 2 first-round picks, I would have just taken the pick. I would have picked someone there.
Yeah, I feel like...
If David Gettleman said that he knew for a fact 2 teams would have taken him, if you knew that and you believed it, why not just trade down right before the first of those 2 teams?
You know, what I don't understand about the Giants is you have the 2 picks there, and you're going to go out, first round's going to be, your first pick, you have a quarterback in mind that you want, and it's Daniel Jones, and nobody's going to take him by the time you probably pick again. And you're wanting to build up this defense as well. Well, Josh Allen's sitting there, still available at 6, which nobody would have predicted. Josh Allen was maybe the best defensive player in the draft. 2 years from now, it wouldn't surprise me if he is. And you let him go by the wayside. I don't think that it was very smart by the Giants to pick him at 6. Now, Haskins to 15. I'm not a big fan of Haskins, but a lot of people like him. Mm-hmm. Pretty good move by the Redskins, which is very surprising to me because in years past the Redskins have never drafted well, and it's a reason why they're always in the top half of the draft.
I thought they kind of lucked out twice.
Yeah, they lucked out twice because not only did they get him, Montrez Sweat fell right into their lap again. So they ended up getting 2 guys who basically nobody else wanted, who potentially at the end of the day we could see both these guys maybe being the best at their position at both these spots.
And they have a chip on their shoulder too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You don't want to play against a quarterback who's fallen in the draft because usually those guys come back to bite you in the ass. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, both those guys have done quite well. Oh, Drew Brees as well, done well for himself. So, guys, I talked about the Raiders. I didn't think that they drafted well. Ferrel at 4, Josh Jacobs at 24, and Jonathan Abram at 27. Did they mess up like we had projected, or do you think that Mike Mayock and John Gruden showed some competence?
So you already talked about that you thought Abram and Jacob at 24 and 27. I think it was a probably fine pick later in the first round, but they're at number 4. They knew 1,000% they're going to get Cleveland Ferrel in this draft. There's no way they look at trading down in the slightest for that pick, and I think that because look at what the Broncos did. The Broncos traded the 10th pick to the Steelers for Pittsburgh's first-round pick, second-round pick this year, and next year's third-round pick. You don't think the Steelers would add one more pick to go to number 4 and get Devin White?
Absolutely.
Last week Joe talked about how he thought they were going to trade up. So teams had to have known that they were thinking about trading up. They could give them a call and say, hey, give us that, then one more pick, you can get the best linebacker in the draft.
And the Raiders and Steelers are huge trade partners. Like the last couple of years, they've traded so many players back and forth.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown.
So
and Martavis Bryant and Ryan Switzer.
Yeah.
Well, I guess these guys didn't have any character issues, so they didn't want them.
Yeah. So that means that Mike Mayock and or John Gruden love Cleveland Ferrel so much they were going to not even take a chance on him falling past number 4.
No.
Not a chance. He has, 27.5 career sacks?
Yeah, he has a lot.
Like 12 last year. So.
Yeah, I think he had 20 tackle for losses last year alone.
Yeah, so I think
he's a late bloomer, but
yeah, I think they reached real bad with the pick at 4. That's obvious.
Yes.
I think the other 2 picks are fine though, really. With Jacobs, like unlike any of the other Alabama running backs that have come out recently, he didn't get his legs run off him like too terribly bad.
That's the saving grace for him.
So he might be. I don't know what kind of sustained success he'll have, but he might be pretty damn good these first couple of years.
Right.
And then Abram, he looks like he can be a playmaker.
No, I do actually like the Abram pick. I don't like the Jacobs at 24, Ferrel at 4. Ferrel at 4 was very questionable. But, I mean, we'll see. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of weird that the Raiders went out and drafted 4 guys that played in the national title game out of 9 picks, and Mike Mayock just happened to be at that game, and Mike Mayock happened to send all their scouts home this week. I feel like this was like, I hate to call it lazy, because, teams do spend a lot of time on this, but it almost seems like a lazy few picks just to go out and get the guy. Mike Mayock worked a handful of games this year in college football, and he goes out and gets everybody he saw, basically. So, I don't know. I guess he's a see it to believe it type guy, but we'll see how this all pans out. So, guys, any non-first round steals that you saw in this draft?
I thought, again, I already said it once with the corners. I think Rocky Sin, Greedy Williams, and Murphy, I think those were all steals with where they got picked. Greedy Williams went really far down.
Yeah.
He might have been 50 or 60. He was 58 maybe.
Yeah, he fell down a lot he basically fell right into the Browns' lap, and everybody talked about, he's a buffet tackler. Like, one person threw that term out, and now everybody's using it for Greedy Williams. Like, just because he didn't when has tackling been the top priority for cornerbacks?
I don't know, and he's going to get stronger, and he'll probably become a more willing.
Yes, he'll be a more willing
stopper,
participant now that he's actually getting paid to do this.
And he's gonna get bigger. The workout plan is gonna be much more difficult.
Yeah, I would rather develop a guy to tackle than develop a guy to actually be able to run downfield with some of the best athletes in the world.
Definitely. My steals are Jaywan Taylor out of Florida. Whenever the Eagles traded up to take Andre Dillard, I thought for sure he was going to go to the Texans after that, but instead they took Titus Howard. And he ended up falling all the way to pick 3 in the second round. That's a really good pick for the Jaguars. And then Will Grier, probably what I thought the best quarterback in this draft, going, I think, in the 3rd round to Carolina. Those 2 picks.
My steals of this draft, I think, that were non-first round. I talked about him last week, Darrell Henderson, running back out of Memphis. Pretty tough guy. Very, very good, especially if he's used correctly. Sean McVay knows how to use 2 running backs correctly, and you can see it on their Super Bowl run just a year ago whenever they had C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley leading the pack out of the backfield, both getting a ton of carries. I think Darrell Henderson's going to be a guy who's going to jump right in, and I don't think he's going to take value away from Todd Gurley, but it's kind of going to be like a thunder and lightning type thing where both guys are very, very good, similar to what the Saints are doing or had done with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. And another guy that I think is a pretty good steal for where he went. Now, if he went to a really bad team, I wouldn't necessarily like it, but the Broncos being able to get Drew Lock in the 2nd round, which, if you'd have looked at mock drafts just, this time last year, people thought Drew Lock was probably a top 10 pick.
First round pick for sure.
Oh, yeah, locked in first round pick. Obviously had a little bit of inconsistencies at Mizzou, but I've never seen anybody ever consistent at Mizzou, and any time that they were, they ended up being bust in the NFL. I think Drew Lock is somebody, if he goes there, sits a year behind Flacco, he could be really good and develop into a good quarterback. So Darrell Henderson, Drew Lock are my 2 non-first round steals that I'll definitely be looking out for. So guys, DK Metcalf fell to the last pick of the 2nd round. Are you surprised?
Kind of, yeah, because this means that GMs actually did their job and watched tape and not didn't look at the combine results.
Yes.
And for that reason alone, I am surprised. I thought for sure he'd go high 2nd round, late 1st round.
He seemed like he had Bills written all over him, but...
Oh, yeah, dude.
I mean...
Do you think that the Bills seriously looked at themselves in the mirror and, said it? Like, we're drafting DK Metcalf over Ed Oliver, number 9.
There's someone in the back. Don't do it.
Yes, do not do it.
I mean, I'm glad a team didn't take him in the first round, but for the Seahawks, though, I think they had 11 picks in this draft. Why not take him with the last second round? You know, at that spot in the draft, why not take a flyer on him? You've got 10 more picks.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, you know, there are just a couple places that you could say this guy's going to make some big plays in their system. A team that runs the ball runs the ball more than any times we had seen since 2012. And then a couple, you know, deep ball play actions, which Russell Wilson likes to throw. I'm very surprised that he fell to where he did. I think this is probably where he realistically should have gone. But he might have had a decent landing spot. I don't think he's going to be a 1,000-yard guy, but a guy who's going to catch 2-3 deep balls a year, Ted Ginn-like. I think it'll work out. So, guys, who are your biggest overall draft winners?
My biggest overall draft winners by only having 5 picks is the Chicago Bears. Because the first 2 draft picks were Khalil Mack, who might be the best player in football.
That was a good pick.
And then they got a really good running back, what's his name, Montgomery, out of North Carolina State. And then they got, I can't remember his first name, I think Riley Ridley, Calvin Ridley's brother. Not as fast as Calvin is, but still a very good receiver. And if Mitch can become accurate, he'll be an absolute monster for the Bears.
I actually love the Bears picks. I do. You know what's funny is that I was reading, you know, draft winners, draft losers, like where everybody got a grade. Mm-hmm. The Bears are the only team that didn't draft in a round that got an A for their round draft, and it just said Khalil Mack next to it.
Yeah, because I mean, like, yeah, they didn't have 2-round picks, but they got Khalil Mack from the draft.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love what they did. Diesel, who are your biggest draft winners?
I had the Colts down. They got Rocky Sin, which I'm really familiar with him because I thought he might go at 20 to the Steelers. I don't know if I would have liked that, but didn't happen anyways. They got the Bonagoo that I mentioned in the last podcast, and then they got Campbell from Ohio State. I don't know if they got any crazy good players, but those are all spots in the field they needed replacements. I like the Steelers going for Devin Bush. I mean, they had to. I mean, absolutely. Last year they tried to replace Ryan Shazier with John Bostic. This year they got Mark Barron and traded up for the first time in like 15 years.
Yeah.
And then also got the Packers.
Who was the last guy they traded up for?
It was actually Santonio Holmes, but Troy Polamalu right before.
Those worked out well.
Yeah,
I mean, Super Bowl MVP and one of the best safeties of all time.
They paid off. And then the Packers. I don't necessarily know if I like Rashawn Gary picked there. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I really like Savage also in the first round. I think they've got Alexander, Jackson, and Savage as like first and second year players. That could be a pretty damn good secondary one day.
They're going to need it with Mitch Trubisky this year. That's all I got to say. So I fell in this weird way. I was recapping what everybody did, and it basically came down. I had almost every damn team written down here. I feel like teams did really, really good, or they did really, really bad. And just teams, I'm going to rattle off through these pretty quick. So I really like what the Cardinals did. They went out, got their quarterback. They got 4 pass catchers, which if you're familiar with Cliff Kingsbury, whenever he was at Texas Tech, you're going to need about 20 of those guys. So we went out, got Andy Isabella, who's a real short wide receiver, very quick guy, and Hakeem Butler. So they didn't just go out and get a bunch of molds of each other. They went out and got big, physical wide receivers, and they got the small, quick guys that can get open field and find some success there. I actually like what the Bills did. They got Ed Oliver, Cody Ford, and Devin Singletary in the first 3 rounds. Those are guys who, at the end of this season, will be starting for the Bills. You know, I don't know what's going to go on with Shady McCoy, but they got a very good running back in Devin Singletary. Ed Oliver is going to be a monster in the NFL. Cody Ford was one of the anchors for one of the best offensive lines in the country. Obviously, the Colts, I don't want to beat that one to death, but they went out and they did a phenomenal job. The Steelers traded up to get their linebacker. They got a potential starting cornerback in the later rounds with Justin Lane out of Michigan State.
He's a converted receiver, too, 6'3".
He's that big? Mm-hmm. Wow.
They need guys who can make plays on the ball, and I think that's why they took him.
Yeah, well, do you think he's going to be a starting safety for them this year?
Or corner?
Or a starting corner, yes.
Best case scenario, he doesn't start at the beginning of the season, just because I saw they threw Terrell Edmonds played more snaps than any other rookie last year, and he wasn't good enough to do that yet. I don't want to see him throw another one in the fire. I think they'll be more successful if they get some time. But I think he's going to see significant time.
Yeah, I definitely think. And then Benny Snell. I thought Benny Snell was an under-the-radar pick where James Conner obviously got banged up at the end of the last year, which they overused him at the beginning of the year, expecting Le'Veon Bell to come back towards the end. Now you get Benny Snell there. You can make an argument that Benny Snell should have went much higher than that.
He had really good career stats.
Yes, he did, especially on a team with Kentucky playing in the SEC, where Kentucky's only going to run the ball. So he has a target on his back every time he's out on the field. It's going to be much better in a system where they can get the ball out to the wide receivers, take some load off of him, and he's just going to be getting spot carries here and there. And I also like the Bears, what they did. The Bears absolutely hit it at the park. And the Patriots every single year, which you could say that they're the biggest winner out of every freaking draft.
Are you shocked that they took N'Keal Harry and then trade back?
No, I'm not.
I thought they were going to trade. Whenever that came down to, I thought they were going to take Drew Lock or trade back to early second round and take Drew Lock.
Well, I think what they got nervous on was the fact that they wanted N'Keal Harry and one wide receiver was already off the board, and I think that they were just shocked that he made it to them. Because, I mean, he's an unbelievable athlete. So, guys, biggest draft losers, who do we got here?
Drew Lock. Before the day of the draft, he said that he'd rather go late to a good team, the team that's rebuilding. Well, you went late in the early second round to the Broncos, who are rebuilding, so you got the best of both worlds there.
I think the Giants. That pick of Jones just to me screams like it could set the franchise back more or set it back farther. I don't know. Maybe I'll be in Crow, but it scares me.
You won't be. I can promise you that.
The Ravens. It initially looks like they got some offense. They got Marquise Brown. They got Miles Boykin, but now they're in the same exact spot the Steelers were in the last year and a half. They lost C.J. Mosley, and they did absolutely nothing to replace him.
Yes.
So I think the heart of their team has been middle linebacker for a decade, and they're not going to have that this year. And then I think the Buccaneers, other than Devin White, I don't know if I agree with any picks they made. They passed on. They drafted a corner in the second round, and they passed up Greedy Williams, who was still on the board, and then they drafted another kicker.
Yeah, no, the Buccaneers.
Like the only team in the league that'll do that.
No, the Buccaneers. Devin White was my favorite pick of the draft because he's going to start from them, be effective day one, a humongous need. But after that, they really shit the bed.
No, I agree with that. Buccaneers find their kicker. Just another draft story for us here. But I just have Giants LOL. And I'm going to throw out some Daniel Jones stuff, just so we can kind of kick the horse while he's down. Daniel Jones, 6-5 as a starter last year, 22 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Quentin Harris as a starter for Duke whenever Daniel Jones went down with an injury. 2-0 as a starter, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So I don't think it was a system thing that was setting him back. Daniel Jones in 2017 played a Baylor team that went 1-11, allowed a 67% completion percentage, 267 passing yards per game, and 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones, 57 completion percentage, 184 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, negative 14 rushing yards. 36 starts, 5 games of 70% completion percentage, 6 games of sub 50. 1 game of 5 touchdowns or more, 1 game of 5 interceptions or more. And he got held below 85 passing yards twice. And he only had 1 game over 400 yards. So that's my Daniel Jones stats of the day. But teams that I didn't think got any better, the Texans. When are you guys going to get a running back? Like, you sit here and you draft 2 offensive linemen from Alabama State and Illinois. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I want to talk about the Texans for a second, too. Because whenever, like I said earlier, when the Eagles took Andre Dilley or whatever, they needed linemen because they led the league in sacks last year, giving up. So they took a guy from Alabama State, who named her and Titus Howard, over Jawan Taylor and Cody Ford and, the Green.
I can't think of
his
it right
name.
now.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. But it took them, and then it took next round we came from Northern Illinois. So I don't understand the picks at tackle position for 1, and 2. I think no running back. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Dante Foreman must be fine.
You know what keeps your quarterback from getting sacked? A good running back who can block too. I mean that helps just as much.
That's what determines if you're a 3-down running back or not.
Absolutely.
With some of it's pass catching, but you can't block.
And you just go out and you spend it on 2 offensive tackles that.
Greg Little was the other guy they passed up.
That we don't know that they're going to be great. He's actually pretty good, too. But I also have the Raiders on here. I don't have to talk any more in depth about them. The Eagles go out. After they trade for a running back, go out and get another running back. And then they got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside from Stanford. Guys, if you haven't seen him play, Just watch highlight tape on Alshon Jeffrey. They got 2 wide receivers that do the exact same thing, which you see teams that are successful in the NFL, they get guys who can kind of do a little bit of everything. So I thought that was weird. 49ers. Guys, it seems like I've watched the 49ers draft every single year, and you could just replay it for the next year.
It says though the same thing every year. They get Solomon Thomas, they get Nick Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Bosa's probably better than Solomon Thomas is, but
DeForest Buckner.
The same
They
thing.
do have Ford now and Quan Alexander though, so their defense might be kind of nasty.
So let's talk about that for a second. So they went out and got D Ford, okay, who's going to rush the passer. They've spent 4 of their last 5 draft picks in the first round on a pass rusher. Eventually,
They better be able to rush the damn passer.
The guy gets
so 3 of their last 4 draft picks have been defensive ends. 4 of their last 5 have been defensive linemen. Guys, and you look at it, they picked a punter at pick 110.
Yeah, 4th round. wasn't
You're
it?
picking number 2 for a reason. You have a lot of things that you should go out and get. A punter at pick 110 is not what you're looking for. I think the punter is low on your priority list here. And you look at this team, they have drafted a wide receiver in every single draft since 2002. They take a wide receiver, I think, in the 3rd round and the 2nd round. How many wide receivers do you remember that have been good for the 49ers? Michael Crabtree is probably the only 1,000-yard guy that they've drafted out of all those wide receivers.
And he was mediocre.
Yeah.
Just ask Sherman, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I don't see what they're doing. Every single 49ers draft class is the same. They're going to get a defensive lineman in the 1st round. They're going to make a ridiculous pick at some point, and they're going to take a wide receiver. It's a guarantee that they're 16 years of a wide receiver, dude, and they've had one guy who caught for 1,000 yards. They've had. I was trying to figure it up. What wide receivers have been the most successful? Do you know who their leading pass catchers are since they started this rundown? It's been Michael Crabtree, Vernon Davis, Delaney Walker, and George Kittle. Tight ends. They are good at picking tight ends. They cannot pick any wide receivers.
What you're saying is they're very pissed off that the Broncos took Fant when they did.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They were all in on that.
Well, think about that. Think about what Kyle Shanahan was good at. Like, where's the OC at?
Falcons.
At Falcons. Where were they good? The year Vic Beasley got 18 sacks.
Yeah, he's trying to find his Vic Beasley.
They're trying to find him and Julio Jones. When they find those 2 guys, they'll be good.
I will tell you this, though. One pick that a lot of people probably think was a stretch, Jalen Hurd going to the 49ers is something to look out for.
I love that. That's so funny to me.
But it's something to look out for because what does Kyle Shanahan like to do? He likes to get the ball to running backs in space. Well, Jalen Hurd used to play running back at University of Tennessee. He was very, very good. Actually started over Alvin Kamara to start the season. Kamara's last year there. Kamara obviously blew up. You know, he's Alvin Kamara now. But Jalen Hurd, that's one of those things that I could see where he's going to play running back and wide receiver. And I think it could be very interesting as a tool in that offense.
Why do you think the Redskins drafted Bryce Love? They have Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, Darius Geis, and Love now. Talk about a committee.
They love them after bad knees. They love it.
You know what it is? I really think that what happened with the Washington Redskins, they're just like, all right, we're going to look at mock drafts, and the highest guy that falls to us is where we're going to go. So they got Mel Kiper's big board in the room, and they're like, oh, Montrez Sweat. Oh, he's still here? Yeah, he was supposed to go 10. We'll take him. And then it was like, oh, Dwayne Haskins at 15? Well, his Vegas over-under was pick 5.5, so we'll take him. Bryce Love. Oh, he almost won a Heisman 2 years ago? Sign him up. I think that they just took a bunch of guys that fell.
Yeah.
I really do. Which, at the end of the day, he looks smart.
I kind of wish Josh Allen didn't go to the Jaguars. I feel like he'll fit in real well.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's
going to be scary, dude. Him and
Yeah.
Calais Campbell, that's going to be a nasty pass rush. So, guys, let's open it up a little bit here. Anything else about this draft?
Okay, so back to the Cardinals draft. You say you liked it a whole lot. My problem with the Cardinals draft is last year the Cardinals was 7th in sacks, and they didn't get a lineman till the 6th round. I don't think they signed any either. So they're really banking on Cobb being more mobile than Josh Rosen.
Absolutely.
But Cobb is still small, so if he does get hit, he's still out for injury.
Yeah, but I think...
I don't think what they were doing, but at some point in time, like, you would think instead of taking, I don't know, D in the 3rd round, maybe get a lineman, just stay in front of somebody.
Well, I do agree with that. But I think for success of Kyler, I think that they were more trying to get just guys who could get open down the field. Because I think what happened, the reason why they had so many sacks last year is because they had Josh Rosen who stood up tall looking for guys to get open whenever they had nobody getting open. They had like a 60-year-old Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk stepping on an NFL field for the first time. And then name one more wide receiver that they had. I mean, John Brown, all of them left last year. I think they were just trying to accumulate wide receiver talent, which is smart for Cliff Kingsbury, but they have to get better at protecting the quarterback, which Kyler Murray, by default, gets protected better than Josh Rosen just by walking on the field.
Yeah, another thing, the package draft. You say you liked it or you did not like it?
Diesel liked it. They're one of the rare teams this year that I think could go either way.
Okay, here's my problem with the package draft. Who's the more important player in the Packers?
Aaron Rodgers.
The only player that matters, really.
Yes, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so first round, they're getting offensive guys. That's fine because the defense needs help and Rodgers can make an offense.
Dude, this is all they did in the free agency, too. Just defense.
Yep. So they take a center and
they're loading up for Mitch.
Second round, they take a center. That helps Rodgers stand upright. Then they take a tight end in the third round. Then they went back in the sixth round. That's it for offense. Last year, Aaron Rodgers got hit a whole lot. They were third in sacks. Rodgers getting fucking thrown around back there. You think the one guy who we know has attitude problems is not afraid to piss people off because everybody in Green Bay loves him more than any other person on the planet. You think you want to be like, hey, you know what? Let's get a lineman here.
Anybody?
Yeah, you know, instead of taking this cornerback or this Savage guy number 21, let's take a lineman. Try to keep Rodgers happy this season a little bit.
I think Savage has way too much potential to pass on.
Yeah, I think Savage is one of those guys that had he had been playing at like an Ohio State or any other team in the Big Ten other than Maryland, might have went higher. I just... Savage is a beast. I think that they did really, really good as far as the talent that they brought into the team, but I do see what you're saying as far as not getting an offensive lineman to protect Rodgers. I guess they're just planning on plugging and playing guys like they had the last 10 years and just hoping that they turn into all pros.
Yep. And my last one, Baltimore Ravens. I think they're having about the worst offseason they could possibly imagine having.
Dude, they have signed so many pieces that you're just like,
So Marquez Brown, Hollywood. I like him. Okay, I don't hate the pick, but what's Lamar Jackson good at doing?
Running.
They took 2 receivers.
Oh yeah,
in like the first 3 rounds.
What's Lamar Jackson not good at doing?
Passing.
So what do you think to help him more? Getting a better lineman to help him stand upright so he can be more relaxed in the pocket, or a receiver he might get the ball to sometimes? I like the Marquez Brown pick, but I still taking Jawan Taylor right there, just to let Lamar Jackson at least stand in the pocket, be more comfortable throwing, and not feel a need to rush outside the pocket.
It sounds to me like you're mad Jawan Taylor fell to the second round.
I am.
Does it not? Every team should have drafted him. Leighton C's like, okay, I understand, Cardinals, that you picked first. Jawan Taylor was still on the board. Like,
it is, though. But after the Ravens' awful offseason, cut Eric Weddle, and they cut then they signed C.J. Mosley. I think they signed Le'Veon Bell. Didn't get him, so they signed Mark Ingram, who they don't need, and injured Earl Thomas.
Yeah.
It's about the worst offseason you could imagine for the Ravens.
As far as a team that I think is going to go from first to worst, I think the Ravens could potentially be in that category.
The Ravens might have a top... They might finish behind the Bengals.
Yeah, they're going to get it. They're going to get a defensive or an offensive lineman next year in the top 10. So Leighton, they'll be safe. Hopefully, it's a Florida guy.
I don't think they'll be that bad.
I don't think they're going to be that good, though.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to improve at all. Like,
I don't really think they were that good last year. The Steelers just kind of melted down.
Yeah, but they were also like a 9-10 win team. Like, I don't think they're going to repeat that. I think that now that there's like actual tape on how, like, if Lamar
I'll be curious
Jackson,
to see what happens with the offense. Yeah.
Yes, the offense is the question, and C.J. Mosley no longer being there is a huge question for me as far as the defense. And Terrell Suggs. I know Terrell Suggs isn't Terrell Suggs 7-8 years ago, even 25 years ago, but
still
he's
a leader.
He's still a leader there. I think that team's going to be. They're trying to rebrand themselves, and I don't think that's going to be a good thing. They're trying to be more of an offensive powerhouse with Lamar Jackson, getting Mark Ingram, getting the wide receivers, and I don't think that that's going to work out for them because it's never worked out for the Ravens in the past.
Yeah. And right on the subject, I might as well go ahead and say it. The Raiders were 4th in sacks. Could have got Jawan Taylor. But do you know who was 4th in sacks?
Who?
Who else was? The Jaguars. And who they fucking got? Jawan Taylor. They went out and got their off. Dude, they figured it out.
Doesn't it seem like every single year the Jaguars end up getting that guy? You're like, man, how the hell did he fall so far? Like I I know a couple years ago, a lot of people projected like Miles Jack to go to them like early on. They get him in the second round. I had him projected to get DJ Shark last year in the first round. Oh, DJ Shark. They get him in the second round. And then this year, Juwan Taylor, people had him picked as high as going 7 to the Jaguars. Nope. Josh Allen falls in their lap. Second round pick. There he is, ready for you to take him.
You want to take the best tackle in the NFL draft?
Yes, I think that's where you're standing at this point. Diesel, any things that you just want to hit on before we wrap up our NFL draft?
I've kind of just sprinkled them in as we were talking.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was too. I had to get my little nuggets about Daniel Jones out there because I love those.
How about Greedy Williams
have
guaranteeing a Super Bowl appearance?
Did he really?
Yep.
Wow, that's bold.
I actually have several more nuggets.
That's just you sitting in the green room so long that you get pissed off and you'll say anything.
Yeah, I actually have several more nuggets, but they're going to come in the form of trivia questions.
Okay. Oh, Trace McSorley to the Ravens. I think that's cool.
I like that.
I like that a lot. I think that's something to watch. Oh, also Jared Stidham to the Patriots, quarterback from Auburn. I think you're looking at the predecessor for Tom Brady. I really do. Guy's good. Guy's very, very good. I think that one's going to fly under the radar. And, you know, fast forward 5 years from now, he could. I don't think he could be the best player in the draft as far as quarterback position. Could be. We'll see.
So you think Stidham to the Patriots is going to be a real deal?
Yes. I think it's actually. I like it a lot.
You don't think he's going to get traded away and succeed somewhere else like Garoppolo?
No, unless Tom Brady signs another extension, I don't think so.
Any more thoughts for us?
Yes, I do.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
2019 playoff stat of the year. James Harden, 63% shooting, 32% from 3. Russell Westbrook, 62% shooting, 32% from 3. How about that? Nothing screams DeMar DeRozan in a Raptors uniform more than 1 point in the first 15 minutes of a Game 7. We've officially found one thing that Greg Popovich cannot game plan for. Kansas City Chiefs won the award for morality for cutting Kareem Hunt. Just spent a first and second round pick for Frank Clark, dismissed from the University of Michigan for domestic violence, and still have not cut Tyreek Hill, notorious woman beater and now child beater. Kansas City Chiefs, your mortality award is now revoked. Dan Snyder, owner of the Washington Redskins, do you know how him make him look like a sports genius? Put him in the same draft as Dave Gettleman, John Gruden, and Mike Mayock. On top of that, do you know how to make every other team look pedestrian on draft night? Make them draft alongside Chris Ballard. James Harden. All season, people complain about him getting calls. Do you know how to get those same people to complain about him not getting calls? Enter the Golden State Warriors. Chris Ballard, playing chess. NFL GMs, playing checkers. John Gruden and Mike Mayock, playing Go Fish. I'm looking into my crystal ball, and I see Daniel Jones holding a clipboard on the sidelines of a 5-win football team. Football stat of the day. Since Josh Rosen's first 2 games in his final year at UCLA, 26 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. And there's a new TV show out this week. It's titled Last Comic Standing, and the competitors are David Gettleman, John Gruden, and Mike Mayock. And those have been my thoughts.
I think we've had 92 books and 1 TV show now on the show.
Yeah, no, I had to throw a TV show in there. Hey, I had a movie last week with the Hurt Locker.
Yeah, okay. So there's been some movies sprinkled in.
So this week, instead of darts, we are actually going to do a little bit of NFL draft trivia. Latency has prepared some questions for us. So Latency, lay it on us.
I actually have 10 questions for you. I try to make them go easy to hardest. Some of the ones in the middle are easier probably than the ones before it, but that's how it goes making questions. Question 1. This player became the first ever first-round pick from his school. Who is this player? This is a layup.
Isn't it that Titus kid? The running back?
Titus Howard from Alabama State.
Alabama State, yeah.
Alright. Mississippi State.
Is this all pertaining to the draft that just happened?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Used in some way or another.
Okay.
Mississippi State had 3 first-round picks this year. Not counting this season, how many first-round picks have they had in the history of the school? The over-under is 10.5.
I'm going to go under
I'm
because
gonna go under, too.
before Dak, they were terrible.
The answer is 11.
Wow.
Oh,
That
okay.
surprised me. Well, do you know any of them?
Dak.
No, Dak was a third rounder.
We're in the first round. But no, they're 11 in the history of the school, so not very much. They had 3 this year.
Mike
So
Evans?
14 total
No, that's
now.
A&M.
A&M.
So 14
Yeah.
total now.
Wow. That's crazy.
I'm trying
Hey,
to picture
I
the
did say
uniform
last year they had the most draft talent, like early on draft talent out of
They did.
all the fucking SEC, and they did.
I would concede them. Jake did say that. This year, Alabama had 10 players drafted, most by any school. Is this the most they've had in a single season?
Absolutely not.
Do you have to get the number for the most?
Oh, I'm gonna guess 15.
I'm gonna guess no, and I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say 13. No, 14's the most.
14? Drake?
Oh, I guess 15.
12.
Wow.
Yeah, 12.
I thought they had more than that. Because there were some years where you're just sitting there and there's like 6 in the first round.
Mm-hmm. I'm also surprised when it was only 12.
Wow.
Who this year had second most picks? A lot of teams had 8, but one team had 9.
Usually it's just like Ohio State.
You still?
Who had 9? I'm gonna say Ohio State too. No, I'm gonna go Michigan just for the fun of it.
The answer is Ohio State.
Yeah.
Every year, dude, like that's the reason why those teams are good. Like they just get the best talent. Clemson, dude. Clemson was top 3.
They had to be 8.
Were they? I don't think they only had like 6 dudes picked.
I think that they had 6 this year. Washington had 8. Oklahoma had.
Yeah, Washington was tough too.
Okay.
Washington had 8, all of them in the secondary. Like,
Okay, this year there were only 3 quarterbacks selected in the first round. When was the last time that there were 3 or fewer quarterbacks taken in the first round?
oh, this is gonna be a while. We had 5 last year, and then the one before that we at least had 3 because Mitch, Mahomes. I'm gonna guess 2014.
2000. I'm gonna go 2011. Wild guess.
The answer is 2017. There were the only 3 taken in the first round. I thought we fall back from that too.
Those were the only 3.
In the first 10 taken, yeah.
Wow.
And in fact, in the past 10 drafts, there have been more than 3 QBs selected only 3 times. 2018, 2012, and 2011.
That's crazy.
Oh,
I
So
thought they were more.
everybody
I overestimated that one.
so everybody says he released 4 taken every year, it seems like. There just hasn't been.
Wow.
In 2015, there was 1. It was E.J. Manuel.
That was a good year.
That panned out well. Hey, that was the Bills. Bills are back on it.
Okay.
Didn't they draft Christian Ponder too? Or was that the
Vikings.
Vikings? Yeah.
In the 4 drafts prior to this season, this position had at least 1 or more players taken in the top 10. Who was that position?
Now, read that to me again.
Okay. In the 4 drafts prior to this one, so 18, 17, 16, 15, this position had at least 1 or more players taken in the top 10 and none this season. What
Safety.
That position.
Or offensive lineman.
Whoa.
It's got to be
Wide
safety
receiver.
or offensive lineman.
Running back.
Running back.
Yep. Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, McCaffrey, and Fournette, and last year was Barkley.
Saquon. Yep.
This
Wow.
year we didn't have
No
anybody.
kidding.
Okay, next question. Utah punter Mitch Wisowski was drafted in the 4th round by the 49ers.
110 by the team who picked second in the draft.
He is 27 years old. True or false? That makes him the oldest player ever drafted.
No. Brandon Weeden, 28.
How old is he?
27.
Yeah, Brandon Weeden was older, I think.
You're right, it is false. The next question was, who's the oldest player?
Brandon Weeden.
Brandon Weeden is 28.
What did the Browns take him at?
28.
Was it pick 28?
20 or 29. It was late in the first round.
Oh, dude, I thought it was higher than that. It's the Browns. Come on, dude. They wouldn't spend
Maybe
that much on a
18.
bust.
Nah, never. Not the Browns. Alright, last 2. Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray were number 1 in consecutive years from the same school. This happened one other time in history of the NFL draft. What school were the 2 players from?
It's somebody in O.J. Simpson, isn't it?
If you don't know, I have a hint.
It'd be USC then.
It's someone in O.J. Simpson.
USC? Is your guess?
Well, if it's O.J. Simpson, then yeah, it'd have to be.
That's my guess.
The answer is USC. 1968, Ron Yari, who the tackle was in the Hall of Fame, was taken number 1 overall. And 69, O.J. Simpson was in 1 overall.
Nice call,
Good job,
Dees.
Dees. That's impressive.
That was awesome. That was the one you said we wouldn't get.
No, this next one is.
Oh, okay.
I changed him way harder than that one is. Daniel Jones, quarterback, 6th overall to the Giants, is Duke's 7th first-round pick ever, and first since when?
Oh, God. First round pick.
Yep. 7th ever, and first since when?
I think I know this.
Name the player, you get an extra little something something.
An extra little something something. I can be down for that.
I'm gonna go way back. Not way back, but kind of way back. 19.
This is the one. This is one I wrote down. It said I guarantee.
What year was it?
19. How far? Give me is it over 50 years ago?
No.
19,
It was recent, wasn't it?
Yes.
I know who it is. There's two guys that are sticking out in my mind. One's a wide receiver, and one's an offensive lineman. Oh, man, I cannot think of their names. I know who it is, and once you read it, I'm going to be mad.
If you give me the year, that's the correct answer. The
It was
player is bonus points.
I'm going to say I know who it is.
I'm gonna say 2015.
I think it was 12. It was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 2012.
The answer is 2015.
5 to 7 years ago.
The player is Lakeem Tomlinson.
Tomlinson, that's who it is. Chargers, right?
He was drafted and traded to Detroit and now plays for 49ers. He started 55 games in 4 seasons. Every game when he was healthy.
He was a guard.
And he's only had 18 penalties in his career.
Wow.
So a very solid player out of Duke.
A guard, right?
I
think so.
He's not playing tackle now, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if Daniel Jones had that kind of career, I
Dang
guess
it.
he'd be okay to be a 6th pick overall.
Yeah. Well, he won't. Spoiler alert.
So you got it pretty good. I think you only missed the QB question draft one and the Mississippi State first-round picks.
Huh. That wasn't bad.
And the running back in the top 10. It's a good job.
All right, so we're going to strike while the iron's hot. We're going to go ahead and put our interview in. It is Aaron Elliott. He is our NFL draft expert, fresh off of his weekend from the Elite 11 camp. Dippers, I hope you enjoy. All right, Dippers, today we are going to have our draft specialist back. It is Aaron Elliott. He is fresh off of his weekend working at the Elite 11 down in Charlottesville. Aaron, welcome to the kennel.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So, Aaron, first off the docket here, what was your biggest surprise of the 2019 draft?
Well, I think the easy one is the Daniel Jones from Duke going 6 overall. But for me, from a personal standpoint, I was surprised to see Drew Lock fall all the way to kind of a mid-second round player. I thought he was the second best quarterback on the board. To see him fall, I thought he tested really well. I think some of the scouts and the NFL GMs and the personnel groupings, the personnel people thought he was a little bit inconsistent, which hurt him. What's odd about that is, you look at Kyler Murray and you look at Dwayne Haskins. Both of those players were only predominantly one-year starters, and it was almost like it hurt Drew Lock for being a 4-year player. So there was almost more film on him, which really then internally kind of hurt his draft stock a little bit. But that was kind of the biggest surprise to me. I thought for sure, if you remember us talking, there was only 3. I told you it was a down year in quarterbacks. We talked back in March, and you noticed there were only 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round, which is a low number.
Right. Yeah, and you look at the totality of quarterbacks that were taken, it seemed low even throughout the draft. You usually see that number jump up quite a bit, 15, 16, teams just taking flyers on guys late.
Yeah, there were only 11 quarterbacks taken in the entire draft.
Yeah. So let's stick on that Daniel Jones pick for just a minute. The Giants took them at 6. A lot of people thought that this guy isn't even worthy of being a first-round pick. More likely than not, a career backup. The Giants ended up nabbing him at 6. What do you think that was going through the Giants' head other than the fact that this guy's worked with the Mannings before?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think, one, it's very easy to emulate styles in the NFL. And I would say Eli Manning and Daniel Jones have similar styles. They're both big, physical quarterbacks with, strong arms who I wouldn't consider athletic. So from a change of offense standpoint, Eli Manning might play for 1 more year, might play for 2 more years. But from a perspective of, not having to change their offense if Jones would have to go in, I think that played a major role in that process. I think that they say it's easy for them to project them. And then, in all honesty, he had a great Senior Bowl game. He was the Senior Bowl game MVP. I think overall the quarterbacks didn't have a good week from everything that I've read and gathered. But from the perspective of, He was a Senior Bowl MVP. He's big, strong, and can really throw the ball. And people get enamored in the NFL by arm strength. And that's one thing he does have. He has starter ability. He has I shouldn't say starter ability. What he has is starter traits. I mean, he's every bit of 6'5". Some people going into the collegiate year said he was the number one quarterback in the country coming into the year. When I see Daniel Jones, I see a lot of Josh Allen. Maybe a little bit less athletic, maybe a little bit less talented, but I see them as very similar players.
Right. And it's funny that you say that, because whenever you look at his numbers, there wasn't a great body of work for Josh Allen coming out, and it's you could say the same for Daniel Jones. He had just as many 90-yard games as he did 400-yard games, and he struggled against really, really mediocre competition. And whenever his backup got playing time, he was actually more successful. As far as touchdowns, interceptions.
You can't undervalue, Cutcliffe's ability to tutor quarterbacks. Right? Like, there's a strong, you talk about being NFL ready. You talk about the complexity of their offense. You talk about all of those things. Cutcliffe has proven to produce NFL productive quarterbacks. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a reason why Peyton Manning and Eli Manning both go back and train with him during the summer. They feel that he is the epitome of being a quarterback guru. And if that is the case, there's got to be some merit, if you will, put on the fact that he is a quarterback guru. And he's a guy that exemplifies what quarterback, and Daniel Jones has all the skills. Was it a stretch for him to go at 1 or at 6? That's a different discussion. I think when you look at NFL personnel, this is what you have to realize. If the Giants fully believe, now I say this, not everybody else, but if the Giants believe that he is 100% a full-time starter in the NFL, then a 6 pick is no problem. Right. If that's what the Giants believe, and keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers went mid-20s. If people thought Aaron Rodgers was what he is today, do you think he would have fallen all the way from the first pick of the draft, and all those other 19 or 20 teams pass on Aaron Rodgers? It's easy to sit there and say, well, Daniel Jones is a stretch. But if Daniel Jones ends up being serviceable or ends up being a 2 and 3 year starter for the Giants, then you're going to look back and go, well, maybe that was a smart pick. I mean, let's look at if you just look at the draft from last year's perspective. If you look at the draft from last year's perspective, you would say Baker Mayfield would have went 1, and then at number 2, I would have said Lamar Jackson had the second best year. Well, no one in 2018 thought that Lamar Jackson was the second best quarterback in the draft. So it's all about your ability to play and all about your ability to produce. And if he does end up producing at that level, then it is no longer a stretch.
Right, but the odd thing to me is that whenever you compare it to like a Lamar Jackson, you want to say, yeah, if Lamar Jackson can do the same exact thing he does in college, where he's running around, being productive with his feet, then he can be successful in the NFL. Right. But we really haven't seen it like that in the way that the Ravens had drawn it up for last year. With Daniel Jones, even if he produces at the same level that he does at college, he's still going to be a subpar quarterback, which I think is odd.
He was definitely the stretch in the NFL draft.
Right.
There's no doubt.
It sounds to me like the Giants just need to go ahead and sign David Cutcliffe to be coach instead of just spending draft picks that come out of his team.
Right, 100%.
So let's go ahead and move to the Raiders. They actually made a surprise pick at 4, which a lot of people had Clelin Ferrell dropping down to the mid-20s. They also got Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Abram all in the first round. Ended up drafting 4 players out of their 9 draft picks that played in the national title game just a year ago. Do you think that the fact that they had sent scouts home early maybe pigeonholed them into basically picking guys that they had, have obvious tape on?
Yeah, I think from an extent of John Gruden and Mike Mayock had decided who they were going to take, and that was a foregone conclusion. They needed a running back because Marshawn Lynch is going to retire. That was a foregone conclusion. They were going to take a running back. And then they felt that but they thought the Ferrel kid out of Clemson was the best pass rusher in the draft. Well, think about it. What happened in this past year? They got rid of Mack. They traded Mack away, and it was basically cussed up and down a storm, but they traded Mack away. Right? And then they traded Mack away to the Bears, and then so they're going to lose, their first 2 picks. They went from Marshawn Lynch, and then, Marshawn Lynch retired, and then they had, Ferrell got drafted. Well, they lost Mack. So they were just replacing their high priority needs. Their high priority needs were met in the first round. And I think what people freak out about is that he was not as productive. But then I look at, Rashawn Gary also went in the first round. And Rashawn Gary is a high athletic player, and his production was way behind his teammate who went in the second round, whatever his name was, Milovanich or whatever his name is from Michigan.
Right.
It's always I'll throw you a name out that reminds me of the kid from Clemson, DeForest Buckner.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Long, athletic.
Huge.
And he didn't have the production at Oregon. And then now in the NFL, he's been a really good player.
Right.
So you have to keep in mind that there's a level of athleticism. If it was all purely based on production, Sutton Smith out of Northern Illinois University would have been a first-round draft pick. Right, he was a 6th-round draft pick.
Right. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that you were right on, some of the things that you were, may have been a little bit wrong on. We'll start with the Drew Lock since you'd already brought him up. Drew Lock, a guy that you really like, you've said multiple times that he is your second-best quarterback out of this draft, falls to 42, maybe a blessing in disguise, gets to go to the Broncos. How do you think that is going to work now that we've seen one quarterback under the tutelage of Joe Flacco, not necessarily being able to be tutored by Joe Flacco? Do you think that there's going to be any difference part 2 now that Drew Lock is with the Broncos and so is Flacco?
No, I don't. I think that's a wise move for Drew and his family. I'm sure they're disappointed that he didn't go in the first round of the NFL draft. But it's a wise move for where Drew is. I think his development, he has all the talent in the world, but I think his development is going to benefit from sitting behind Joe Flacco. Like I said, I personally know Drew. I don't know Joe Flacco, but I do think from a perspective of his long-term career, he's not going to be thrust into action to play.
Right.
And anytime you have the ability to sit out and watch a true all-pro like Flacco, it wasn't that long ago that he was, a Super Bowl MVP signing a 7-year, $130 million deal. So when you look at that perspective, Drew has all the opportunity in the world to sit to learn from a guy who's a former all-pro type player for a couple of years and really develop, not to mention the general manager is John Elway. He obviously knows a thing or two about playing the quarterback position, and that really allows them to sit and learn. And then in a couple of years, you kind of have the Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers scenario.
That's the ideal scenario for Drew Lock, I think. Do you think that, obviously Kyler Murray, he's going to be thrusted into a starter role right away. Is it safe to make the argument that Drew Lock's probably in the best position out of all these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I I think Kyler Murray is probably the most talented quarterback in the draft. But I don't know how Drew is in any better of a situation.
Right.
He's not going to be forced to play. The Broncos are in rebuilding mode. It doesn't seem to me like it's a bad spot for him to go and sit and learn, where Kyler's going to be thrust into action. And we saw with Josh Rosen last year. Now, keep in mind, the Cardinals went offense a lot in their draft. But if you saw Josh Rosen last year, I mean, the Cardinals are a 3 to 5 win team probably this fall.
Right. So let's go ahead and talk about another quarterback. We talked about Dwayne Haskins the last time you were on. You weren't necessarily as big as a fan as most people were of Dwayne Haskins. A lot of people made the argument that he should go number 1 overall. Eventually falls to 15 to the Raiders. Or to the Redskins, I'm sorry.
Redskins, yeah.
And what do you think about that pick by the Redskins? Do you think that that's going to be a good fit for Haskins to go to? Or do you think that this is somewhere that he could potentially struggle?
Well, you got a couple of things there with the Redskins, right? One, you're the head coach is an offensive-minded guy, right? Number 2, he's probably not going to come in and play, right? Alex Smith is out this year, but they signed Case Keenum, so he's probably going to sit for a year, maybe half a year or something like that. And even if he comes back and plays average, they always have the ability to go back to Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a great year last year in Washington. So keep that in mind, that he's probably looked at as a projection. He's probably not looked at – I think the only guy that was drafted – and this is different. I think the only guy that was drafted this past year that's expected to probably come in and play immediately is Kyler Murray. Which that's a huge change than we've seen the last couple of 3 years, right? Last year, who we played? They played Rosen, they played Darnold, they played Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that out of quarterbacks that went in the top 10, all 15 of them had at least started 7 games.
Yeah, and I don't think the Giants are looking at Daniel Jones as a starter. I don't think that the Redskins are looking at Dwayne Haskins as a starter, at least in year 1.
Right.
I think it's a 2-3 year project for those guys, because again, Daniel Jones was subpar in his production, and Haskins was a 1-year starter. So you have to look at it from a perspective of they have talent, they have arm strength, they have elite arm talent, they have the size and the physical traits that people look for, but then you have to say, are they ready today? And I would say, even Patrick Mahomes was the NFL MVP. He didn't play as a rookie. A lot of people don't remember that.
Oh, yeah.
He did not play his first year.
Yeah. No, I agree there. I think there is a lot to be said about guys who don't have to come in and be a starter, especially, because it's hard to find success after you've had so many failures in the NFL, and you see it time and time again with quarterbacks that are taken early, so it may be a good thing for him.
Yeah, and I think Haskins, those guys, Haskins and Jones will both benefit, and Drew will all benefit from that, being able to sit out a year, learn the offense, learn the speed of the game, and then be able to produce down the road.
No, I agree with that. So one thing you hit the nail on the head on was DK Metcalf. So whenever we did our interview, we did it fresh off the combine. Everybody was going crazy about all these numbers that DK Metcalf was putting up. DK Metcalf flew to the top 10 of a lot of mock drafts. You had said that you didn't think that he was worthy of being taken, definitely not in the first round, probably not in the second, and ends up getting drafted with the last pick of the second round to the Seahawks. Do you think that this is a guy that's going to be able to find success with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, or do you think that this guy's going to be a boom or bust wide receiver?
I think with DK Metcalf, you have to realize is that you have a one-trick pony, right? He's a long ball threat. He's going to stretch the defense. He's going to take the top off the defense. He's a straight line runner who's incredibly fast in a straight line, right? And so Russell Wilson's one of those few quarterbacks that if you look at his throws over the last 3 years, something like 37% of them have been above 30 yards. They run a lot of play action. They run a lot of stuff out of the shotgun, and they throw the ball vertically. So if he is throwing the ball vertically, Doug Baldwin's the opposite. He's not a stretch the defense type player. he's more of a down player.
Right.
And where Metcalf has the ability, Metcalf can take the top off the defense. The reason why he fell in the draft was exactly what I thought. When I watched the combine, when I was at the NFL combine, I felt he was stiff as a player. Like there were three or four receivers drafted before Metcalf. And if you remember, I told you before the draft that I liked Hollywood Brown. He was the first wide receiver drafted. I liked N'Keal Harry, the kid out of Arizona State. Both those players were drafted in the first round of the NFL draft.
No, you nailed the wide receivers.
Yeah, well, it's because, and even Paris Campbell, who's lightning fast, all those players can get in and out of breaks. And how many throws, as you and I talked, those big, tall wide receivers, although everybody wants the next Calvin Johnson, have to realize that those players are few and far between.
Right.
And it's hard for those guys to get open. It's much easier to get Hollywood Brown in the slot in Oklahoma to run a bender, to run a win route, and throw the ball to him to 7 to 8 yards and let him do the work than to try to throw the ball 50 yards down the field.
Right.
To DK Metcalf.
Yeah. One guy that you mentioned there, Hollywood Brown, that's a guy that you really liked coming into the draft. Goes to the Ravens. The Ravens, obviously, it's pretty obvious if you watch them play. They want to run the ball. But talking about guys who fall in a perfect situation, do you think that Hollywood Brown maybe found himself a great spot with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who's going to keep a lot of defenders' eyes in the backfield?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how they use him, right? If they try to throw him the ball, I think stuff quick can happen. If they do the RPO stuff, I think that's a strong possibility with Hollywood Brown. It all depends on, and they might even move him to the backfield. He's shifty enough as a player. He only weighs 170 pounds, but he's shifty enough as a player to get the ball all over the field and be able to make plays. And so that's where I think the Ravens say, hey, look, they felt they probably got the best wide receiver in the draft.
Right. They probably did.
Well, I mean, I'm a N'Keal Harry fan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I think N'Keal Harry's size, his athleticism, and the ability to play special teams, he returned kickoffs and punts at Arizona State.
Yeah. They're both... I think it's going to be interesting, because obviously N'Keal Harry, he went to a fine spot going to the Patriots. Anytime you're drafted by them, you're going to have immediate success. And
absolutely he did.
Yeah, and Hollywood Brown, I think they both went to places that both of them can find success extremely fast in the NFL, which is kind of a rarity for wide receivers anymore.
Absolutely. And if you notice, those receivers really weren't overvalued.
No.
There were two positions in this draft that people thought were weak, and it was the receivers and the corners. And if you notice, there wasn't a corner taken in the first round. And all those other people thought Greedy McWilliams and all those other guys from LSU were the top corners of the draft, and the Colts went with Rocky Sin. They thought he was the best corner in the draft. But, at the end of the day, the corners and the wide receivers were two of the weakest in the draft class overall. And you saw that as the draft played out.
Right. Absolutely. So, real quick before we have to sign off here with you, what team do you think, when we look down the road 4 or 5 years from now, which teams do you think absolutely dominated this draft class?
Oh, I would say the Broncos, and then selfishly, I think the Colts did a fantastic job.
Oh, the Colts were playing chess, and everybody else was playing checkers.
Everybody's saying was in the rounds 2 to 4. That's where all the value was. There were very limited high-end players, and they were drafted 26 overall. The Colts addressed a lot of their specific needs. And then the Broncos, I think, getting Locke in the second round when they have a need at quarterback it's hitting the nail on the head.
Right.
Right? I mean, realistically speaking, they know Flacco's not the answer for the future. So they're looking at a guy with first-round talent where, arguably, if it wasn't for the stretch with Daniel Jones, would have been the second or third quarterback taken. He's first-round talent grade, drafted mid-second round.
Right.
So I would say the Broncos, kudos to them and John Elway. They knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And they even filled a need. Everybody knows Joe Flacco loves his tight ends, and they went out and got him one in the first round by trading back with the Steelers.
100%.
Absolutely. So you said that you really liked what the Broncos and the Colts both did. What teams do you think left a lot to be desired following this draft?
Well, personally, I wasn't crazy about the Raiders. I think Ferrel at 4 was a stretch. And, it remains to be seen, the running back that was taken. Running backs have always been that questionable in the first round.
Right.
Is there more value at a second or third running back? Will Benny Snell or one of those second or third running backs off the board have as much production as a first-round running back? I'm always weary of drafting Jacobs. He didn't even start at Alabama. But he was behind Damian Harris.
Right. Which the Patriots ended up nabbing.
Right. But, so, the Raiders, to me, stretch, right? Ferrell was a stretch at 4. Everybody had Josh Allen above him and other people above him. He was a stretch. And then you come back and draft a running back that was something on his team. Although maybe number 1 on the board of most people, he wasn't even the best running back on his own team. And then you also get into the fact is how valuable are running backs in the first round. Right.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think that I think the Raiders fell asleep at the wheel. I honestly, so I love John Gruden. John Gruden's an excellent personality, but I just don't know if his heart's back in it. And if you look at what the Raiders did, like Mike Mayock, he went to the title game, and he was actually in attendance for that, and now he's the GM. They send all the scouts home. It makes it seem like they just basically regressed back to whatever Mike Mayock had seen with his own eyes. Got to see it to believe it, so I'm going to draft everybody, basically, that I got to see play, which was one film's worth of game.
Right.
That's crazy to me.
Who knows what Mayock was thinking? That would be my team that I felt was probably missed the most.
One last quick question here. One guy that I targeted on here that I had to get your opinion on. Trace McSorley to the Ravens. I thought that was really interesting. Obviously, like the Ravens, they don't need a quarterback. Trace McSorley came into the draft as a quarterback. A lot of people look at him as a defensive back. What would your opinion be on Trace McSorley in the NFL and how the Ravens would probably try to use him?
If you remember earlier in this call, we talked about fit and offense, right, and scheme.
Yes.
Daniel Jones, similar to Eli Manning. McSorley is similar to Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
So they don't have to change their offense. It's a plug-and-pop thing for them. If he doesn't work out a quarterback, then he can go play defensive back.
Right.
But to me, it's a plug-and-pop thing. It's, what if Jackson goes down? There aren't very many players that are as athletic as McSorley and Jackson.
Right. I thought that was an interesting thing. I had to get your opinion on that. And I do agree. I think that he would be a good plug-and-play guy for Lamar Jackson, even though...
He's a plug-and-play guy. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's the opportunity to sit, hoping nothing happens to Jackson, and he's a plug-and-play.
Any other nuggets that you want to throw in here about the draft before we wrap it up?
No, I thought that the draft was exciting, and overall, I think the majority of their teams would say they were happy with how the draft fell.
I would agree with that. And before we actually started rolling, we kind of gave our take on it. I said teams that usually draft good, drafted great. The teams that are picking at the top of the draft are there for a reason. They're going to be there again next year. And I think there was really no in-between with teams.
Nope. I honestly thought the Patriots knocked it out of the park as well. We didn't mention them earlier, but I love N'Keal Harry at the back end of the first. I love the defensive lineman from Michigan. You get a pretty athletic, long-armed player with high production in a major conference in their first 2 picks.
Right.
So, and the people that I know in the NFL, the scouts and the GMs, stuff like that I talk to, they like that. A lot of people like that defensive end more than they like Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary is more on potential, not on production. And people thought that he was a better player. The teammate Bill Benich was a better player than Rashawn Gary.
Right. That's music to my ears. I've got to keep the Packers down since I'm a Bears fan.
Absolutely.
All right, Aaron. Thank you very much for coming on. I definitely appreciate your time, and we'll have to talk again soon.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, fellas, so a little bit of NFL news and notes. So the Chiefs have made their way into headlines. We'll start it off with, this is two parts. First, we'll start it off, they traded this year's first-round pick and next year's second-round pick for Frank Clark, immediately made him the third highest player in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. Guys, do you like this trade?
I do like the trade because they need defensive help. I don't like the money they paid him at all.
Absolutely not.
But I have some stats on if you want to hear the stats on why the money sucks.
Let's hear it.
All right.
Lay it on.
Since 2016, so 3 full seasons, he's 9th in sacks, 11th in QB hits, 36th in total tackles, and 42nd in solo tackles, and 24th in tackles for loss. So he's top 10 in one category in 2016 and the third highest defensive paid player.
That's not very smart.
No, that's really, really, really bad, actually.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
You'd think he'd be a top 5 in sacks, top 10 in QB hits, top 20 in tackles, but now he's top 40 in all those.
You know the reason why everybody loves him?
Can you have 2 first names?
Because we started a thing called QB pressures now.
Oh.
It's your inability to actually hit the quarterback. It's just the ability to put pressure. Yep, get close to him.
Oh. Okay, well, he said that going for him, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to start something called like near touchdowns now, and then guys will get paid off of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trade's definitely a win now move, and like that's obvious. And the Rams did a bunch of it last year, and the Chiefs definitely have Super Bowl aspirations as they should. But I think part of the reason they're good now is because the best player is cost controlled, and by trading away picks and taking on this contract, you're eliminating your ability to do that later on. So like, what made them good now? That might be the most painful part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, you get a first and second round pick, and you draft well on either one of them, you're gonna have 4 or 5 years of a cheap guy.
Absolutely. I don't think I like the trade.
No.
And the reason being is, okay, so let's say they didn't trade out of that pick. Okay, they would have been pretty close to being able to just go up and get Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Very, very close to that. Maybe just have to trade that third rounder that they swapped with Seattle just to jump up and grab him. That's a guy that's going to fit right in there. If you're going to have to fill a void for Tyreek Hill, I like that a lot more than Frank Clark. Especially whenever you let D Ford walk last year, and D Ford didn't come close to being the highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL. You think about guys that are going to make $20 million a year on the defensive line side of the ball. Aaron Donald, that's understandable. Khalil Mack, that's understandable. Then you get Frank Clark. Like, where the hell did this come from? I mean, the guy's top 13 sacks is his career high. Usually, guys who are defensive linemen, at least over the last few years, they have their most success early in the NFL. Aaron Donald put his stamp on the NFL as soon as he got into it. Khalil Mack did the same thing. J.V. Clowney had to wait a little bit because he was plagued with injuries. J.J. Watt, guy who struck as soon as he came in.
Garrett on Cleveland.
Myles Garrett, having success early in the NFL. And these guys, they go out pretty quick. I mean, defensive linemen, they lose that step pretty fast, even whenever you just look at a guy like Von Miller, So I don't think I'm big on this trade. I feel like they gave up quite a bit to get him. And I think that it's one of those things that they just looked at their contracts and said, oh, we're not paying our quarterback, so we can shell out a ton of money to this guy. I don't think it's going to work out that well. I think the Chiefs are just going to be good because the Chiefs are good. But I don't think that Frank Clark moves the needle on this team a ton for me.
No, the defense is probably no better than they were last year.
Absolutely not.
There's going to be immediate reward to having a better pass rusher.
Absolutely.
But what's this going to look like in a couple of years?
Yeah, yes, I think it's going to get real ugly whenever people come up for contracts and you're paying Frank Clark.
And what's his production even going to be like?
Yeah. You're going to get 10 sacks a year. with a ton of pressures.
Yeah, it's like oh, why can't you retain your best lineman, Tyler Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes? Oh, you're paying 8 sacks a year, Frank Clark, $20 million.
No,
that's why you can't do it.
I agree. Like, okay, so this year we talked about how bad the Seahawks were defensively compared to years past.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Clark, you could watch a whole game without realizing Frank Clark's out there. You could not watch a Rams game without realizing Aaron Donald's their best player, offensive or defensive side of the ball. You watch a Bears game, offensive defensive side of the ball, there's one guy that stands out. It's number 52.
Yeah, no.
And Frank Clark did not do that for me. He was like the third best player on that defense last year.
Yeah, I knew they were fucked whenever the trade and the deal got down simultaneously almost.
Yes.
And it took me a second to realize who Frank Clark was.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. I'm like,
Props to Frank Clark, though, on getting
awesome.
paid that much.
Oh, Frank Clark
I don't know
got
how
paid.
they lubed that up. But
Yeah.
Hell, he might get a Super Bowl ring out of it, too, first year.
Yeah, no kidding. That would be interesting if he actually does. But yeah, whenever they pop that up there, that Frank Clark was making $20 million a year, I did exactly what you did. Like, Frank Clark?
Did you think who it was?
Wow.
Like, oh yeah, here's the guy who got that one sack that one time for the Seahawks that I saw on Red Zone.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's kind of rough there. So, guys, the second part to the Chiefs
Before we
headlines.
move on, actually, I got one more stat that's just, to me, is kind of nuts. So to find out his stats, I looked at his highest year, which was 13 sacks. Made that the baseline, put that over 3 years to make sure he was there. How many players since 2016, so 3-4 seasons, do you think will have acquired 13 sacks?
Since 2016?
Yeah, so over 3-4 seasons.
Well, Vic Beasley, like you said earlier. Khalil Mack has to be up there.
Well, the answer is 73.
73?
73 players have total 13 sacks or more. I feel like that's really low. Or is that high? Am I just thinking about this wrong?
Or are you thinking 73
I thought you
players?
said,
No,
I thought you said that they did it over 3 years.
They did. So, like...
Oh, you're saying
five,
over the 3 year span, how many players got 13 sacks in one season?
I thought you were talking about one season.
I thought you were saying averaged it for...
No, so like 3 seasons combined, so like 5, 5, 3 counts.
Okay, well, yeah, that would make sense.
I feel that's really low.
Yeah, that is kind of low. I was just trying to count off guys who had 13 sacks in a year.
Oh, in a season, no, yeah, that's much lower than 73.
You don't do things like this. You don't pay Frank Clark $20 million. It's just crazy to me. But they will not. I don't get it. I guess you have to pay the quarterback.
Second round of playoffs anyway.
Yeah. It won't matter. So Tyreek Hill doesn't look like he's going to be winning any Walter Payton Man of the Year award anytime soon. Audio recordings came out with a discussion between him and the mother of his child. Basically said that the kid's scared of him. Said that Tyreek was responsible for the injuries that the kid had sustained, which was a broken arm. Kid's 3 years old. Said that Tyreek Hill's punishment for the kid whenever he had made a mistake wasn't timeout or anything like that. It was open your hands as wide as you can, and I'm going to punch you in the chest. Should the Chiefs be sending him packing?
Yeah, I think today get put on the commissioner's exempt list. So that, and then just they've had some really bad PR issues. That could be that one player committed suicide at the stadium in Kareem Hunt. They seem to cut themselves from every controversial thing possible right now. Because right now the Chiefs' image isn't looking that great.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it. He's already been charged one time with something like this. I mean, you got to send him home. You got to cut him. You got to.
Yes, and the bad thing is, whenever she was actually pregnant with the kid, he held her down and beat her, choked her, punched the kid, punched her stomach, very, very graphic stuff that Tyreek Hill had done. What does this say, though, since the video of Kareem Hunt came out and later that day they just cut him immediately? Hill seems to be getting a longer leash. They're just keeping him away from team activities. Mm-hmm. But what does this say about the Chiefs?
I think the only difference is that this one's not a video.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
There's something such.
This is still we can all assume that he's guilty because it sure does sound like it, but this one's I guess technically kind of hearsay. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, the same psychological. I don't know the science behind it or why, but seeing something is worth so much is worth to us than just being to imagine it when it shouldn't matter. Can you imagine a 3-year-old getting hit in the chest by an adult? It should be awful.
Yeah.
But I guess seeing it, they have to see with some people.
Absolutely. Seeing it is believing it. It's like the Mike Mayock draft strategy,
Mm-hmm.
They have to see it to believe it. And that's almost sickening, whenever you think about a team running stuff like this. And it could also be talent. They felt like they could plug a running back in there. Tyreek Hill, you can't really find a replacement for him just walking down the street. And that seems to be how NFL teams conduct business. Yeah. If you're an irreplaceable player, you're going to have a leash that's pretty long. Mm-hmm. But the history with this guy, you feel like on draft night, whenever you take him, you sit him down and you say, anything similar to what you did at Oklahoma State, you're done. And I don't think that they're holding him to that kind of standard, which is pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah, it could be about talent. Like, that is my first thing, too, like, because you can plug in a running back for Kareem Hunt in the playoffs to some success, but you can't plug in a Tyreek Hill. Still no excuse to have him on the team. So.
No, he should be done. Absolutely done. Greg Hardy him.
I think it's going to be a longer process than, obviously it's already been longer than Kareem Hunt, but I think it's just going to ultimately end in him being cut.
You think he plays in the NFL this year?
Not this year. I don't think he's cut early enough to be in the camp.
What do you think, DC? You think he plays in the NFL this year?
I don't know.
I think he does.
I think
if he does, it would be. I think it would be like first half of the season, sometime in there.
I bet he plays. I bet he does.
What do you think they'll cut if they do? Because
if you're going to pay Frank Clark $20 million, you're going to do anything to win a Super Bowl.
I think it would come with like a suspension would be like next season probably. Well, I guess that would mean that they weren't cutting him.
Or like an Ezekiel Elliott thing where he just kind of like lingers around and then bam, right in the middle of the season, like week 8, you get a 6-gamer. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I hope he's cut, and I hope nobody picks him up. So, guys, we'll go ahead and transition to the NBA here. We're going to have a little bit of an NBA playoff memorial. So we're going to bury some teams that are now pronounced dead out of the NBA playoffs. So we only got to bury the Pacers last week. Now 7 more teams will now be buried. I will read off teams, and you give me one phrase, sentence, or word that their tombstone will read. First up, Clippers.
Refuse to tank, pay the ultimate price.
If only we played someone other than Golden State.
Doc's greatest work yet. The Jazz.
Another year singing the blues.
Ooh, that was good.
Why doesn't Donovan Mitchell get criticized for being so inefficient?
Defense doesn't win championships. Not even first-round series. The Thunder.
Rolled, but lightning never striked.
We can't shoot threes.
Needed a 176th game to figure it out. Spurs.
Kicked the horse one too many times.
This ain't your old Spurs.
You can take the DeRozan out of the Raptors, but you can't take the Raptors out of the DeRozan. The Magic.
Just wanted to remind people that Orlando has a sports team.
Lucky to be here.
Outlived our life expectancy by 5 full games. Pistons.
Yes, we will in the playoffs.
We don't value our backcourt.
Steve Ballmer. Thank you. The Nets.
Cut down the prime.
Damn, I wish we had first-round picks in 2014, 2016, and 2018.
I like that. The Island of Misfit Toys. That's what that will read. I like that. That was fun. So we'll go ahead and go to our NFL or our NBA quarterfinal matchups. First up here, we have the Raptors lead the 76ers 1-0 after Kawhi Leonard's 45 points, 11 rebounds, and 70% shooting performance in Game 1. Guys, series winner in how many games? That was hard to read, dude. That's incredible.
I'm thinking Raptors. It's going to be 6 games still. You got to think that Game 2, Philadelphia come out with some kind of new game plan to guard, just put the ball on the entire time and make that Jimmy's one responsibility for the entire game is guard Kawhi Leonard. But I think the 76 is going to be fine. I think, they didn't play bad, put up 95 points. It's not a lot, but it's on a big defensive team at Toronto. Basically, I think they're going to win both games at home, and that might be all they win.
I think the Raptors are going to win in 6. I think that's the latest it's going to go. I think the Raptors are just a better team than they are. The Raptors have 2 former Defensive Player of the Years on the team. Wasn't Marc Gasol Defensive Player of the Year once?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I think he was.
I'll check it out.
But Joel Embiid was so...
You could have made a case for Serge Ibaka.
Maybe it was him. I think they have 2, though, I think.
Yeah.
But Joel Embiid... he played like 30 minutes last night, or was the game? It was last night, wasn't it? I'm getting all twisted.
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. He played 30 minutes, and he was so inefficient. That he does that. Like he's
yeah. Oh, dude.
He is susceptible to a very inefficient game, and I think they're going to give him too many problems. I don't think
a guy who has inefficient games. We're going to throw Marc Gasol at you for a little bit, and whenever he gets tired, we're going to throw Serge Ibaka at you for a little bit. Like they have so many options that they can use to slow Joel Embiid down. My biggest note for this game. was I thought Jimmy Butler was supposed to be an elite defender.
Yeah, like
Kawhi Leonard just absolutely ripped him to shreds and then held Jimmy Butler to 10 points.
they say elite defender have an elite play. It's not 4 for 12.
And don't you feel like out of players that get compared the most in the NBA, it's Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler? Like, everybody's like, yeah, they're pretty good. They can score here and there, and they're super good defensively. And I feel like those two guys get compared a lot, but I feel like Kawhi Leonard lifted his leg up on top of Jimmy Butler, who was just a fire hydrant that game, and leaked all over him. Yeah, because it was ugly.
He's a cold dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's won Finals MVP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whenever he was decent at best. I mean, he had not been a star like, Kawhi Leonard to be.
He wasn't this player yet, yeah.
No, absolutely not.
But if Reddick's shooting 12 threes and we're making 5 and he's leading score for the game, this will be a 4-game sweep.
Yeah, no, I think this one's going to be lucky to get 6. I'm going to go Raptors in 5. Probably shouldn't... The 76ers, you look man to man, should be better than this team. You look at what the Raptors did to them. Absolutely dismantled them. And the Raptors only had 2 guys score in double figures. You look at Kawhi and what Siakam did. They absolutely destroyed this team.
Those 2 outscored the Sixers starting 5.
That's insane. That should not happen if you're the 76ers, especially whenever you're supposed to have Tobias Harris, who's supposed to be a good defender on Siakam, and Jimmy Butler, who's supposed to be one of your best, who probably is supposed to be your best defender, guarding Kawhi Leonard. Absolutely terrible. I think that this is a different Raptors team than years past. They used to have to lean a lot on Kyle Lowry. This postseason, he's failed to score 10 points 3 times so far in 6 games. And they are just still routing teams. He's like the 3rd, 4th best player now. I think the Raptors are going to make quick work of this. Which is kind of a bummer because the 76ers team should be way better than what they are.
They have 4 max contract players in the team.
Yeah.
No one else has that.
Yeah.
The Warriors have that. But other than that, no one else has that.
Yes, other than the Warriors, who are basically going to cruise to their 3rd NBA title in 3 years. So, Bucks, Celtics, big shocker here. Bucks were 8-point favorites at home, ended up getting routed by 20 points to the Celtics. Guys, how's this series going to go? Who's going to win? And how many games is this going to go?
So, first off, you got to give Al Horford some credit.
Oh, my goodness, dude.
Some credit. He's done this like 2 years in a row with the Celtics. He'll go up against the best dudes. He just plays. He performs. But I think the Celtics maybe were like 11 points, and like early on, I was starting to feel a little uneasy about the Bucks. I was like, man, this isn't looking good already. No. I was like, I know it's early, I'm going to wait, but at no point did the Bucks really look super, super competitive in this game.
Dude, they had a 15-0 run in the middle of the game, the Bucks did. Otherwise, this would have been like a 40-point loss.
Yeah, I think in one quarter, the Celtics had 2 12-0 runs.
Wow.
Yeah, the Celtics looked really good. I mean, they did.
Yeah.
And I think this one has potential to go 7. And I mean, off of what I saw last night, I honestly think the Celtics are going to take it.
Celtics in 7?
I think so.
I'm going to take Bucks in 7 still. I just think they just came out too overhyped and just too round up for the too nervous almost. And the Celtics, they're here last year. Kyrie Irving's done this several times now. Bucks in 7, but this is going to be, I guess, more competitive than I had once thought.
Yeah, this is... Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say this will be Giannis' worst game. Like, by far. Like, you come in to Milwaukee, you absolutely destroy him. An 80-year-old Al Horford basically plants his foot in the middle of the lane and just dominates you all around the court. Giannis is not going to let that happen again. Giannis is too good to let that happen again. The key to this series, though, for the Bucks was anytime Giannis got the ball on a fast break, which we know Giannis picks the ball up at half court, one dribble, and he dunks it. They would put like 4 guys just basically crash in on him and give an open 3-pointer and basically say, make it. We're not going to let Giannis come down here and get a freebie dunk. We're going to throw everything we have plus the kitchen sink at Giannis. Somebody has to make an open 3. Well, the Bucks didn't do that. Bucks get routed. I think the Bucks are going to come back in this series. Even things up with a game at home. I think this is going to be a 6 to 7 game series. Malcolm Brogdon's going to be reassessed after game 2. Hopefully he's there for game 3. That way they can get Sterling Brown out of the starting lineup. So be nice for the Bucks if they could do that.
How much cool would it be if his last name was Silver instead of Brown?
That'd be awesome. Sterling Brown. What a name.
They're the best name in sports.
That would be one of the best.
That's definitely an MMA fighter name. Sterling Silver.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, well, he wouldn't be playing basketball if his name was Sterling Silver. He'd be throwing punches against Greg Hardy. So Rockets, Warriors, a ton of buzz after this game yesterday. Warriors ended up getting a 4-point win at home. Game was very controversial. A lot of people were complaining about James Harden not getting calls after those same people were complaining about James Harden getting those same calls all season. Enter the Warriors and people will be pissed off about anything. First off, let's talk about all that. What do you guys think about the lack of calls now that it's playoff time in this series?
So to start off, I think Harden on the last shot. I don't think Draymond fouled him there.
No, absolutely not.
Harden definitely kicked his legs toward Draymond Green and came down inside Draymond.
I do think a lot of the ones earlier in the game, though, he did.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the NBA came out today and said that Steph should have fouled out before he got his fifth foul.
And then they released that thing on ESPN not that long ago about...
That was 7 minutes with the game. 7 minutes. Game was 7 minutes left. Wow.
They had like 81 documented missed calls in the finals last year.
Yeah.
Or something. They feel like they got hosed out of a championship.
Yeah.
And that released like today. So I think there definitely is a history of the Rockets getting screwed against Golden State.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But in my opinion, if it's a foul game one, it should be a foul in game, like what we at, like 90 something now?
Yes.
I feel like this should be a foul. Like, yeah, like, Drake, you say you hate watching James Harden play. That's all he does is draw contact. But that's just how he became the best scorer in the NBA. That should be a foul yesterday.
Yeah.
The Rockets probably should win that game yesterday.
Well, and here's the thing with this, like, they set a precedent early. Like, if you are going to call that a foul during the regular season, you have to call it a foul in the postseason. Otherwise, you're playing two different sports. But imagine if they just wiped the slate clean in the NFL and they didn't call helmet to helmet in the playoffs.
Who's to say that these officials were calling it a foul in the regular season? Because these are like the best officials in the league. It might have been guys that are younger or newer.
Well, James Harden shot a ton of foul shots this year.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he was drawing them all year. But it's tough. He's a difficult guy to officiate.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No doubt about that.
You know, the weird thing is, on that little step back jumper, he jumps back and then he jumps right back into you just with his legs, and it's weird because guys can stay in their proper, like, where they were supposed to go. They could go straight up and down and still not give him proper landing territory.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he avoids ankle injuries.
No, I don't either. He should have
It's like he's asking for it.
Well, knock on that wood. Real quick. We don't want him to get hurt.
Yeah. My biggest thing I took away from yesterday, the outside of the holding on call thing, kind of with that, I felt like the Rockets' game plan was to get foul calls on threes. And I felt like they didn't shoot the threes, I guess, properly.
To make
them, yeah. Because they're just so worried about, we got to get our feet down here so we get the foul call. And right then, Tony, after the game, kind of brought it up, like, well, they would call all the fouls, then we would win the game. Well, are you telling your team that, or are you telling your team to make the plays to win?
No, I agree with that.
That's important. Like, because you tell your team, do this, or that bails us out, that's changing the entire mindset of everything.
Dude, that team shot 1 for 14 from 3 in the first quarter. If they made 2 of those, if they went 3 for 14, they win the game. So, who's winning this series?
Warriors, and I'm going to go 6. About Jared Ponders, I want to say one more thing. Kevin Durant's averaging 35 points for the postseason. He's the best scorer of all time.
Wilt.
No. Kevin Durant is the best scorer of all time. Nobody ever could guard Kevin Durant and stop him.
Nobody stopped him.
James Harden got a lot of points because he gets a million foul shots. Michael Jordan Vegas scored 2, but Michael Jordan wasn't 7 feet tall.
Wilt.
Kevin Durant is the best scorer of all time.
Score 100 points, Kevin, and come talk to me. Diesel, who's winning this series?
Oh, God,
This was tough.
Going into it, I really thought it was going to be shorter. I thought it was going to be short. But then now I'm kind of torn and want to say it might go 7 games. Man, I'm going to go ahead and say Warriors in 5. That's what I'm going to go with. I think the Rockets just squeak one out at one point, but I think the Warriors are going to.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a 5 or 6er. I think their best chance to win a game at Oracle was the first one, seeing that they were actually in Oakland longer than the Golden State Warriors were. They were there whenever Golden State was playing the Clippers in a Game 6. Houston was already there. They were staying in a hotel. They were prepared. They were ready. I don't see them winning any games at Golden State. I think they'll win 1, maybe 2 in Houston. But I think this is a 6 game. 6-game series, maybe 5. They missed a hell of an opportunity the other night, though. So, last up, we have the Blazers versus the Nuggets. We have not seen either of these teams play against each other yet in the postseason, so we have a clean 0-0 set. Who's going to win this series and how many games?
I'm thinking of 7 games. These two teams have two of the better home court advantages in all basketball. Both of them, I'm going to take Portland, and it's because of Damian Lillard. They had one guy who looked at that team said, okay, he's taking the last shot to make it, Damian Lillard. And do I have confidence in him scoring when they have to score? I do. I can't say that about anybody on Denver. They might have a better all-around team, but Portland team is full of ballers, and Damian Lillard is an absolute gamer. I'm taking Portland in 6.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens here. All these series are really interesting. The Blazers are basically doing like a center, like a 5 by committee. They use like 3 dudes, and they just cycle them in. And Jokic is going to be better than all of them. He's a really damn good player.
Yes, he is.
And Paul Millsap's a good player too. So I'm curious to see what happens down low there. But then Damian Lillard and McCollum are considerably better than Jamal Murray and Harris or whoever else they've got at the 2. So it's gonna be interesting. I think I can't bet against Damian Lillard right now.
Absolutely not.
I'm gonna say Blazers and they're the higher seed. No, they're not the higher seed. I'm gonna say Blazers in 6.
Blazers in 6. So 6 times has a player hit a buzzer beater to eliminate a team from the postseason. Damian Lillard has already done it twice with the shot he hit against Paul George, which Paul George said was a bad shot. So Bryn Forbes and Derek White scored 32.5 points per game and shot 52% on the Nuggets. Okay?
Okay.
Is Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum better than that?
Yeah.
By far.
Yep.
They averaged 52 points in the first series. If Bryn Forbes and Derek White are shooting 52% against your team, Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum are going to have their way with you.
Yeah.
And I think that the Blazers, I hate picking the Blazers in the postseason just because basically the last 3 years it's just been a dud. But I think the Blazers are going to go to the Western Conference Finals. Just basically on the back of Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. And I think that they're going to be able to cause enough problems throwing different looks at Jokic because, like Diesel said, they kind of do a 5-by committee. They have Zach Collins, Myers Leonard, and Enes Kanter kind of just rolling guys out there, keeping fresh legs on Jokic. Nobody can stop Jokic, but they can slow him down. You can't slow down Damian Lillard. Mm-hmm. So I think the Blazers in probably 5 or 6.
So wait, we all picked the Blazers?
Oh, yeah.
Nuggets in 4.
Yeah, Nuggets are winning this in 4.
Nuggets in 4.
I hope not. I would, dude. That
I'm
would
almost tempted. This one, I'm real torn on. A couple of these, I'm in the middle on.
No, yeah, I agree. I think this is, as far as recency bias, as far as quarterfinal matchups, you could not ask for better. Because it seems like typically in the NBA, it would have been like the Nuggets versus the Warriors and the Rockets versus the Blazers. Like 2 things that don't really get you up in the morning. And then we have the Raptors versus the 76ers, Celtics, Bucks. Like, those are the best possible matchups we could have possibly had.
No, the Eastern Conference side is basically what all season for.
Yeah.
Like these 2 series.
Yeah, no, these...
Hell, even the West side is shaped up to be, with how close that Golden State game was, too.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very, very interesting. So, guys, one segment that we always have on the show when we hear something funny, shittiest take of the week. And basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. We listen to a lot of sports radio, sports television, and we give you the worst take of the sports week. Latency, what do you got for us today?
Unfortunately, this week I have no Clay Travis for you guys.
Damn it.
But
Dude, Nashville draft?
I didn't listen to him.
Oh, man.
It's very unfortunate. I had to call people to work, and they didn't listen to talk radio track, turned down. Bullshit. But David Gettleman, already said earlier, he said he knew for a fact 2 teams taking Daniel Jones before them at 17. You just don't... Okay, 1, you just don't say that if you do know it, and 2, no one told you that. Because no one's going to tell you the draft strategy. They don't plan for months to tell another GM what they're going to do in the first round. That doesn't happen.
Diesel, what do you got for us today?
I've got 2. The first one's Chris Carter. He said that Haskins was passed on at 6 because he was African American. Like, there definitely are issues with race relations in the United States, but that's not it. That one's not it.
Picking a quarterback is not.
I don't... In the New York Giants picking... Like, I don't... I don't know if I'm buying that one. I think that was more of a system thing, and then I don't know. And the first pick was he was black. But anyways,
And the team that he got drafted by has been noted as one of the most racist teams in the league, with the
Yeah.
Redskins. So I don't know if that plays.
I just
CC.
feel like he's stretching on that one. And then the second one, Mel Kiper said that the Raiders will win the AFC West this year.
What?
Yeah, he said that on television. The Chiefs are still in the AFC West, and the Chargers are still in the AFC West. So I don't know how much. I don't know. I'm not seeing where the Raiders got so much better that they're going to beat either one of those teams, but we'll see.
No, we will see on that. So mine, he's making his second appearance actually in like the last month. Paul Pierce.
Okay.
Immediately following the Bucks Celtics game, so he had picked the Bucks originally to win the series, and he talked him up how good Giannis was, the whole 9 yards. They pan in, and they said, "Guys, what's your thoughts on this series now?" First thing out of his mouth, "It's over. It's over. Celtics just showed me too much today, and they're going to win this series." Okay, 7-game series, 1 game, and it's over. I don't buy it.
The Bucks dominating 86 games meant nothing.
Yes, what you saw from the Bucks for 86 games. In the first round, I understand that they played the Pistons. Blake Griffin played in 2 of those games. They won every single game by 15 points. Okay? Now that you saw them play the Celtics, who obviously had a better game plan than what the Bucks were expecting, they completely dominated them. Yes, they won game 1. But to just backtrack on a take that you had just thrown out 3 hours later, like the only time you're allowed to do that is whenever it's a game 7. Like, I think this team's going to win. Oh, nope. Never mind. This series is over. Game 1. It's already over. That was the first.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
His head was down.
He
He,
did
looks
say
down.
it
He
too.
just goes, "It's over." Like, just so serious. And then immediately, I think it was Chauncey Billups was like, "What?" He's like, "You just picked the Bucks to win this thing."
Man,
Yeah.
Paul Pierce said some shit lately.
Oh, yeah. He's been on it.
Oh yeah, he's not been hot.
No, dude. I got a good idea.
What's the idea?
I think we need Paul Pierce on more TV, like ESPN, Skip Bayless style, Stephen A. I think this will be good.
We should get him and Charles Barkley, so they can break down why Portland will not go to the finals against Boston.
That'll be awesome. That would be awesome. So, guys, let's go to some MLB chatter. Last week, we discussed the Yankees' injury list and if it would affect them this season. Well, they responded by going 9-1 or 8-1 in their last 9. When this team gets healthy, are they the obvious team to beat in the MLB?
I think the Astros will be a team to beat when the team healthy, even though they'll be way better. Because I don't see James Paxton strike out 12 guys every start multiple times all season long. But Severino can come back healthy, and Andrew Hawk can come back too. On top of Justin Stanton, this team will be really, really good and very hard to beat in this series.
Yeah, it's tough to. I'm not gonna put them as the team to beat just right off the bat. But they're definitely in the top couple. Definitely in the top 3 probably. I don't think the Dodgers are as good as they're playing.
Absolutely not.
I think the Astros. Are
Wait
really
a second.
good.
You're telling me that Cody Bellinger isn't a 420 hitter?
Yeah, and I think there's too much uncertainty to me around some of the other teams. Like the Brewers had the ability to look so damn dominant there for a while. Now they've come back to earth, and Cubs had an awful start. Now they're playing really well. Cardinals are playing really, really well. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
I can't name one yet, but they'll be up there.
It's baseball.
Yep.
That's all you got to say. It's a marathon, not a sprint. They could. I mean, I wouldn't blink an eye if they went like 2-10 over their next 12. Like that's just how baseball works. I think it's too long of a season. But I think right now, if you're looking to the end of the season with how everybody's playing and what they're projected to get back, you have to be scared to death of the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely do. So, guys, one team that nobody is scared to death to play, the Marlins. They are on pace to have the 3rd fewest wins in MLB history as far as teams that have played 162 games. Is there any way that this team can win fewer than 43 games and set the MLB record for teams who have played 162?
I really don't think so.
Oh, they're bad, latency. They're bad.
But there's no way. Okay, so they got it this way. I don't know the math for doing it in the bad direction, but for the good direction, all you have to do is be 4 games over 500 every month, and you win 100 games. I don't know how many games you have to be under 500 to win 43 games, but there's no way they can get that many games a month under 500 to win 43.
Oh,
It's going to have to be 4 above 500 a month to win 100. There's no way.
there is no way.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think it's
I
gonna
don't know if that math is right. There are 5 months in the baseball season?
happen. Yep. So 4 times 5 is 20, and
20, so you'd be 20 games over 500.
and
That
plus
would not.
plus any one 101 wins.
All right, wait and see.
Or I think about that way wrong.
John Birdie.
If you were 20 games over 500, you would be like 90 and 70.
2500. Even 4 getting over 4 times 5 is 20.
Yes, you'd be 25. You'd be 20 games over 500 at the end of the season. That would be 90 and 70.
So I just thought that way wrong.
It'd be like closer to like
5, 6.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So still, not that many games over 500 in a month.
Well, you got to be 40 games over basically.
Bottom line, Diesel.
No.
No, they're not gonna. I back on topic. 43 wins is that's not very many wins. That's like 100. What is that? 100. That's a ton of losses. I don't think they're gonna do it.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Have you looked at this lineup?
I don't want to, honestly.
Is Castro on there still?
Oh, I feel bad.
Oh yeah,
for him.
Starlin
What's he
Castro is
hitting
on there.
this year?
257.
Yeah,
And
that's probably
did
the
you ever
equivalent
get-
of 300 in a lineup that's competent.
Yes.
Remember he got traded the last year? He said Carey for them to trade me because we're going to conclusion. And here we are a year and a month later, he's still on the bear.
Yeah, he's 257. He's third on the team in average. Fourth on the team in average, behind Neil Walker.
Oh god.
Dude, Neil Walker always fucks me in FanDuel.
Lewis Brinson. You ever heard of him?
Third base?
Center fielder for the Marlins.
No.
Man, they're rough.
He came from the Brewers, I'm pretty sure, in the Yelich trade.
Yeah. Well, he's paying off. He's almost as good as Yelich. Looks like 197 average.
Probably the same on the road.
Yeah. Their road splits are identical. I'm going to say that there's a chance. Where there's a will, there's a way. Derek Jeter, you wanted to be bad, buddy. You got it. I mean, this is terrible. I think there's a chance. I think they're sub 50 for sure. I think they're worse than the Orioles last year.
Sub 50.
I mean, the Orioles at least had Manny Machado for a while. Like, this team is hanging their hat on Neil Walker and Starlin Castro. Starlin Castro is a fine player in the MLB, but he should not be your best player in the lineup. Curtis Granderson, he's getting swings. Oh yeah, they're all getting swings down there, dude. He's getting some hacks.
Man, could you imagine that locker room? Like, it has to be laid back and like everybody knows they're going to lose every day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know it's got to be a good time. Ah, man, this.
It has to be
Definitely different motives there. Like, you're going to the cage to get better so you can get traded.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's a tryout for the next team.
Yeah, Curtis Granderson, he's hitting 182. So Bryce Harper got tossed last week, and Jake Arrieta came out to the media and explained why they needed him in right field and not thrown out of games. What do you guys think about Harper getting ejected, and is it fair for Arrieta to criticize him?
So Harper needs to get stop getting thrown out of games.
Absolutely.
He's been ejected second most active players behind only Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp's like 1,000 years old.
Whoa. That's active players just in the totality of their careers?
Active player, yeah.
Wow.
Matt Kemp, the only one who has tossed more than Bryce Harper has.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I had heard a stat like that, but I just thought it was like since Harper came into the league, and I'm like, there's no way Matt Kemp's been on the field as many times as he's been thrown out due to injuries. That's crazy.
And then,
That's because Zambrano's not playing anymore.
I don't love Arrieta saying that to the media. But,
I love it.
But I like that he said it to Bryce Harper because Bryce Harper needs to know that this is not Washington. You are not the golden child here. Even though we're paying you a certain amount of money, you're not going to be caught up like you would in Washington. You got to be a big boy now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could be wrong on this, but I think from the replay I saw, he was arguing balls and strikes. Was he?
Yeah, I think
so. I mean, that he knew he was getting ejected. That's just stupid as hell. They automatically eject you.
Yeah, at least do something cool.
But yeah, I have no problem with Arrieta saying it. Like, he's won a Cy Young, you've won an MVP, but Arrieta's won a championship, and like he has just as much pedigree as you. He doesn't make the same paycheck, but
And he has a title.
I mean, yeah. So I don't have any problem with like that. Does need to be reined in a little bit.
No, I think it's fine because how many times has Bryce Harper ever been called out like that?
Papelbon.
One. I
Papelbon.
just say one to try to kill him for it.
Okay.
He said one time he tried to kill him for it.
Yeah, and they sent Papelbon packing, didn't they?
Arrieta's in a little bit better shape than Papelbon.
I think so. Papelbon's not there now. He wasn't there last year, so he must be coming back.
Yeah, no, he needs it. I mean, dude, Jake Arrieta is like an alpha dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just saying it because he won a World Series for the Cubs, but like, he's an alpha dog. Like, you look at the guy and you know he means business, and he doesn't take shit, and he's a fly under the radar guy, but you know he's there. Mm-hmm. And Bryce Harper needed to hear it. It needed to be expressed to everybody, and they need to set a precedent early because they're going to have him forever. That you need to be on the field. And I understand if you get thrown out for, something more than just looking at an umpire arguing balls and strikes. Like, it's childish. Yeah. It's childish. And I'm a big Bryce Harper guy, but I do not have one problem with this. So, guys, Cody Bellinger looks like the best player in the MLB. Never thought I'd say that in my lifetime. Leading the MLB in average with 420, second in home runs with 13, and second in RBIs with 33. What do you think the keys to success with him are this year compared to last?
So whenever he got called from AA, he was, before you come on this, let me get through what I'm going to say. When he got called from AA, he was legitimately hitting 500 AA. So he was seeing the ball really good there. He knew he could make contact and hit for power. I think now just seeing the ball and hitting for contacts is catching up with the rest of his game. And before seeing it start, Drake and me talked about how the Dodgers can win the division, and the key was him and Corey Seager had to step up. Well, he's doing it for him pretty well right now. But basically, I just think now he's not so worried about the swing zone, just actually hitting the baseball, and he's seeing good results from just hitting the baseball.
Yeah, he's a freak of an athlete. Like, I think he's probably the best base runner on the Dodgers. He's maybe the best defensive player. He's robbing home runs. Mm-hmm. Like, he's something else. But, yeah, I think his swing and miss rate, I'm sure, was a lot less this year. I haven't gone and looked at the actual data, but there's no way it's higher. His hard contact, it's got to be higher. Like, he's definitely, I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's shortened his swing, and he's got 13 home runs, but he's learning how people are like attacking him. He's becoming a better hitter. That's what it is. The power was there the whole time, but he's just becoming a better hitter. I think that's the big difference there. Yeah,
and We've seen a weird trend in the MLB. Like, we talked about, the averages are all going up. Like, guys that are as big as Cody Bellinger, like, it's not like he's, like, 280 pounds or anything like that, but he's 6'4", 200 pounds. Like, he's a long guy who can obviously hit the ball really far. Like, you don't have to go out there and just swing for gold every single time. Like, you make contact, you're going to get your fair share of home runs. And I think that's showing in the average. Like, he's not going out there just taking daddy hacks, and I mean, really, it's paying off for him. Do you guys think he can win a Triple Crown? I think this year, since he's on pace to flirt with it.
I didn't think he can. He's been over how he's swinging the bat way better now. Dodgers don't need a whole lot of runs. The word would be the home runs, I guess. But as the air gets warmer, you can't imagine a downtick in home runs. So I don't see he has a good chance to win. Not a good chance. He has a chance to win Triple Crown.
I think he has 0% chance to win. Just plain and simple, I don't think he can sustain it, and I think pitchers will adjust too well. But I think he's primed for a top 5 MVP finish in the National League for sure.
Is it fair for me to say he's going to hit under 300?
No, you can say that you want to. I mean, shit, it's April 29th.
I think he's going to hit under 300.
I mean, he can easily hit.
I think he's on a heater right now. Which basically all the bats in the MLB are on heaters as far as just averages. I think the only guy that really has a chance to win a Triple Crown in today's baseball would be like Mike Trout, maybe Christian Yelich. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely Yelich if he played 162 games at home. But yeah, I don't think Bellinger can sniff it. I'll be surprised if he's leading any of these categories come playoff baseball. I'll be very surprised. But my bold prediction right now, just a little preview to later, Cody Bellinger's going to finish the season hitting under 300. So it is our time to put our producer in the spotlight. He goes out and watches not one, not two, maybe 3 or 4 movies. Last week, he did not watch any new movies for you. So he better come in with something good, something hot. Wait and see, what do you got?
It's real good, and it's real hot. It's Avengers Endgame.
Oh, I knew that's what it was going to be.
Oh, yeah, no. The gang's all back. Remember last year, around the same time, actually.
Iron Man dies.
Spoiler alert, Iron Man dies.
What?
Well, fuck, it's been for 3 days. I haven't seen it yet. Get over it. So Iron Man dies in the end. But, so...
I just had to spoil that.
You just had to yell that out.
All right, continue.
Okay, so what was I?
Oh, by the way, if you... Yeah, go ahead.
A year ago, they just basically the same month, pretty sure the same week, at Infinity War, get 2.8 dips. One of my favorite movies ever because in the Marvel Universe, I'm not so concerned with the individual story. Like, I don't give a fuck why Black Panther's there, but I care about the overall arc of the whole MCU thing put together. So this was like, so Infinity War was like a goldmine to me. I loved it. 2.5 hours long. I wish it was 4 hours. This movie's 3 hours and 1 minute long. 181 minutes. Long time to in the theater. Go pee before it. Go pee again during the trailers. I wish it was longer still. I love this movie. Everybody's so fast to me.
Yeah, everybody I've heard talk about it told me that.
Yeah, anything about it is so cool. And then, honestly, the first... Actually, I was going to watch for this one. The first hour, I was worried about it the whole time. Because they do something, they do a time jump that I was very concerned about the entire first hour. Like, shit, this is going to drag on for 2 hours and get some course in the last hour. Once 1 hour mark hits almost exactly, all the course starts happening. So if you gotta pee, go before 1 hour mark hits. That's when shit really gets turned on its head. So, school for this one's really hard because I want to get 2.9 dips because that's a perfect movie. But this is where the rule of the dips comes into play. No dips is I never should watch it ever. 1 dip, I never watch it again. 2 dips, I watch it if it's on. And 3 dips, I 1000% watch it again. I've already seen it twice.
What?
I'm going to see it for the 3rd time tomorrow.
That's weird, dude. This is like a 6 dipper.
I already got it tomorrow. It's a 3-dip movie. This is one of my favorite movies ever.
Wow.
I actually love this.
Crazy.
I actually love this movie.
It's 3 hours long and you're going for the 3rd. That's incredible.
Wait, see, what'd you do this year? I watched Avengers 16 times this year.
I don't know if I'll see it 6 times, get for a whole day of my life. But shit, if I go see it 6 times, movies have really been lacking. Look at what's coming up. I don't think it's possible for me to do that, but...
Alright, I'm going to put you on the spot. Battle of Westerfall, is that what it's called? Winterfell. Battle of Winterfell or the final fight scene for Avengers? Which one was better?
Winterfell.
Wow.
But the episode overall, I gave Game of Thrones last night like 2.2.
Okay.
Major letdown. I texted my buddies who watch it. We all know that it was really fucking awesome, but the end was a huge letdown with how much they could have done.
So, you know what I've never understood about the Avengers and all that stuff, like the DC Universe or Marvel Universe, all that stuff? These people just like, where do they live?
What do you mean?
Tony Stark, where's he at?
He's at a mansion on the beach.
Where at?
California, San Francisco.
Okay. What about the Hulk? He's in there, right?
The Hulk roams up until...
Nomad.
Yeah, up until 2 movies ago, he was on the deserted planet.
Do they know of each other being superheroes?
Well, at this point they do, yeah.
Now they do?
Yeah.
Like, now national media didn't just happen to run across one of them and be like, oh shit, I'm not the only superhero out here.
But basically what happened was, in Captain Marvel, which is based in the 1980s, just after... So basically, if you go by time, it's the second earliest one. It ends with Nick Fury opening this like thing called like the Avengers, like the Avengers Corps or something like that, and him searching for all these people, and then he finds Tony Stark, and he finds the Hulk, and then Iron Man 2 comes out. Then they unfree Captain America from the ice. Then they find Thor, and then just continually find these guys doing thing or another.
They just happen to find
It's
him.
awesome. It's awesome.
They didn't know that Captain America was frozen somewhere. That didn't make national news, or that there was a fact that
Captain America
it was like 4,000 pounds. Who's green?
Well, Captain America was national news in 1940 when he went into the ice originally.
Him and Walt Disney.
And Walt Disney. Yep.
Wonder if that would be a crazy plot twist, dude. If it turned out that Captain America was actually Walt Disney, wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah. So I have a question for you
Is
guys.
Captain America racist? Because I think Walt Disney was.
Was he really?
I think so.
That's not a good look for Disney.
You ever seen a black person in a Disney movie? I've not.
Black Panther.
Not since he died.
Was that Disney?
Yeah.
Not since he died though.
Disney owns MCU.
What's MCU?
Marvel Cinematic Universe, the thing that makes billions of dollars for Disney.
I think the Princess and the Frog was the very first one, and that was like
Years later, yeah. She's the first black princess.
Huh.
I don't know.
I didn't know that.
If you want to go anime movies, probably not. Well, Frozone from Incredibles. He's black.
That's true.
But can for you guys though, what do you think is a greater feat? Having this movie come out with the same actors, all but one is different, all the same actors, 22 movies over 10 years, or bringing back the exact same actors every year at the same time for 10 straight years to make one movie.
Bringing back the same exact actors.
I agree. It's close though, I think.
Like-
Boyhood did that.
You have to get so lucky.
Yeah, no, like, what somebody dies?
Yeah.
Like, shit, people die every day.
Yeah.
10 years is a significant amount of age, too.
No, yeah.
Maybe
It
it's
is.
7 years. 7 or 10 years. But
What was the first Avengers movie?
Avengers? Wait, you mean the first active Avengers movie or the first
The one
movie?
that plays into this.
Iron Man?
It was Iron Man. Wow, Tony Stark.
Yeah. It was like Iron Man, then the Hulk, then Iron Man 2, then I think Thor, Captain America, something like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. All right, guys, any bold predictions for this sports week?
The Red Sox keep sucking.
That's not even bold at this point, dude.
Let's keep it rolling, guys. Let's get that top draft pick. We can put some prospects down there.
No quarterback taken last weekend will ever make a Pro Bowl.
Ooh, that is bold.
Kudos to
very
the
true.
Cardinals, by the way, already saying that Kyler's going to start week 1.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
kudos. Just get out there.
They-
I forget about him. That's kind of scary. But
They said that whenever they released their schedule release, basically, whenever Josh Rosen wasn't on there.
Yeah.
My bold prediction for this sports week, I think that Cody Bellinger, obviously down the road, will not hit 300 for this season. And let me think of another good bold one out of this draft. Okay. I think that Darrell Henderson will be a top 20 running back for fantasy.
This season?
Yeah. Todd Gurley will still be like 1-2, but I think that they're going to be like a Kamara and Ingram thing. And it's going to be fun to watch. Anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Nope, you got it all, man.
All right, on that note, for Drake, for Leighton, and Diesel, as always, Dippers, stay saucy.